makes Jim Crow look like James H. Emu.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is March 26, 2021. This is episode 316. And today, whoa, to Jim Eagle Joe. And I have a confession. I am Jim Eagle. I'm just kidding. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And I'm not Jim Ostrich. I am your co-host, Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And nothing is better than the take we're about to have on Joe Biden's incredible, amazing, one-of-a-kind.
It was better than I ever could have imagined.
Oh, you know, one of the things I said prior to the election, I said, you know, if Biden becomes president, at the very least, we will be entertained. And I think I was right.
Yeah, you were right. You called it. Oh, man. Yeah. So before we get into it, I want to let everybody know if you're watching live on the YouTubes or anywhere around the internet, please go ahead, hit the like button and subscribe. Turn on notifications. It goes a long way to helping out the show.
Yes, it does.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Yeah, do it now. And the pre-stream listeners heard this already, but I think we should remind people they should follow us in multiple locations. It's dangerous to rely on one YouTube channel to try to get the show. So we're all over the place. Twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio, YouTube.com/Canary Cry Radio, DLIVE everywhere. But most especially, you should go sign up for the newsletter. We don't send out a lot of newsletters or mailing list rather. But in the case that we are shut down on the publicly accessible live broadcast areas, whoever's on the newsletter is going to know what to do at that point. So you can head on over to canarycrynewstalk.com. Click into the best way to do it is click into one of the episodes, click a little thumbnail there, and then go to the bottom, sign up for the mailing list. Just a word to the wise.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to stay connected in case of shutdown.
And we don't send a lot of things out. It's basically just an emergency broadcast system for us. So, okay. Well, anything exciting happened to you before we get into the show?
Nothing exciting happened to me, but I did see a whole bunch of footage of the Meteor. Did you see?
Oh, yeah, you were talking about this. I did not see any Meteor.
Oh, it's pretty gnarly. I mean, it looks like a whole crew of Super Saiyans flying across the sky. I mean, it's
where was this?
In the
Did you
sky.
see it live, or you just saw a video?
It was in the sky, Basil.
Ha ha, Gonz.
Which means it was everywhere, or I don't know, places that can see it.
That's not how it works, but okay.
Oh, okay, Mr. Science Man, Mr.
I'm a Mr.
I know exactly
Science
the
Man.
shape of the world, man. How exactly does it work, then, sir? Tell us.
Well, meteors are famously only visible to the places of the Earth that they are immediately falling over. So, where was this? Do you know? You're projecting. You're deflecting because you don't know where this was.
This is over Salem. This particular footage here.
Oh,
Salem, Oregon, I believe. But there was another one from, where was this? Washington, Vancouver. So, yeah, Pacific Northwest, I guess.
You know what this probably is?
Son Goku and the Super Saiyans.
Yeah, Super Saiyans and or garbage hugging Space Flippy.
Oh, yeah,
bringing
Space
some
Flippy.
space junk back into the atmosphere.
That's right. This is Flippy sacrificing himself for the greater good.
Okay. Well, it's like the Iron Giant. only in Flippy form.
Flippy form.
Oh no, the tears are coming.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, we got to change the subject.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, not really much else going on in the world, my personal world. But what about you?
Yeah.
You got anything crazy going on over there?
No, nothing. My most exciting part of the past couple of days was actually watching the Biden press conference.
It was great. We'll get there. We got plenty.
It was only an hour long, but it felt like an all-day affair.
I'm pretty sure he is a time traveling. He has the John Teeter machine.
He's temporally privileged.
He is. And some of the pauses that we experienced as multiple seconds for Joe was just, a split second. Time traveler.
Yeah, right. It felt like years. Yeah. It was like that Interstellar.
Right.
The movie Interstellar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the other day I don't know what was going on, but I became completely enamored and obsessed with the robot from Interstellar.
Oh, yeah.
Did I bring this up on the show?
No.
Best robot.
Yeah, that's what people. Yeah, I've seen the movie. It's a very low key, likable robot. Good, nice personality likable. And whatever. But
best film robot. I'm putting that on the record. Because people, hey, Gons.
Yeah. When
you're a notable robot influencer like myself, people want to know. They have to know. I can't keep the people wondering what my favorite Hollywood robot is. It is definitely Tars. I think that's his name. Tars from Interstellar. Check it out. There's some great YouTube compilation clips of all the Tars clips.
You know what was great about that robot was they didn't make a humanoid or his physical appearance to be humanoid, which I
loved it.
Yeah, which made it a little bit more likable, but obviously
and more realistic. He was like he looked like a refrigerator, but I don't know. Okay. Check it out.
All right,
go watch some compilations. And speaking of robots, Gons, it's time for the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you don't know, maybe you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore how robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. Today, it's a little bit of a low-key Flippy update, but notable nonetheless. This is coming from robotics.news. And the headline is Kroger opens fully automated warehouse in Ohio, plans to open more in the future. As the demand for product deliveries increased due to the Wuhan coronavirus. Yeah. When was the last time you heard it called that?
No, never.
Yeah. And Trump. As lockdowns prevented many from going to work, companies are resorting to using fully automated warehouses. This is what happened with supermarket chain Kroger, which just opens its first fully automated distribution center in Ohio. Kroger, whose headquarters is based in Ohio, recently opened its new automated fulfillment center in a small town of Monroe, Butler County in Ohio's southwestern region. Monroe. Didn't we just talk about Monroe for another Flippy? Oh, maybe. This was, I believe, in Monroe, New York. That's where Smiley was.
Oh, was it? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. The $55 million warehouse is 335. Oh, so close. Square feet in size.
You still got a 33 in there,
Yeah.
Pair of threes.
Yeah, okay, we're good. The customer fulfillment center, as Kroger calls the warehouse, features digital and robotic functions that allow the company to assemble an order of around 50 items within 6 minutes. Company executives pointed out that an order of similar quantity would take their human employees approximately 30 to 45 minutes to assemble, since they have to physically pick up the items from various areas around the fulfillment center. The fulfillment center is the first of around 20 planned fully automated warehouses and distribution facilities of similar size. While the new facility is fully automated, it is still expected to employ around 400 people. What's the point then? There's so many human beings.
It's to not have 4,000.
Okay. In a conference call to discuss the company's fourth quarter earnings, Kroger said the fully automated fulfillment center completed its inaugural order on March 3rd. Quote, "This marks the soft opening of the facility, and we look forward to our grand opening in early April," said Rodney McCullen, Kroger's chairman and chief executive officer, during the conference call. Quote, "We continue to be excited about the elevated experience that this will bring our customers in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, tri-state area, and across the country as we continue to open additional facilities."
Do you know who the parent company of or a subsidiary of Kroger is?
No.
King Soopers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Kroger is
gosh.
the parent company.
Full circle.
Yeah, it's a warning. You know, next time you try to go in there with a gun, all you're going to find are robot arms, and it's going to come after you.
Well, see, and you picked up on what I was laying down, because the reason I wanted to bring this up is so this Kroger facility, it's very much like an Amazon warehouse, where, you know, they're calling it a fulfillment center. Of course, with the coronavirus, the lockdowns, you can't go to a grocery store anymore, yada, 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 get your stuff delivered. But now, with the grocery store shootings happening at apparently a Kroger subsidiary company, just as more incentive to employ robotic arms versus trying to lure unsuspecting victims into an actual grocery store. There's one step further into the never leave your home, never go anywhere, let robots, baby you throughout your life.
Yeah.
This does sound more impressive, actually, than an Amazon fulfillment center, who, of course, has laid down the trends of what we all expect from retail companies going into the future. Have you been doing any of the grocery delivery stuff?
I think the wife did for a little bit, but I was like, man, that's expensive. Let me just go out there and let me be a robot while I still can.
Let me be my own fulfillment center. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. Like I said, not the most, earth-shattering flippy update, but considering everything going on with grocery stores and everything else, we got to get the robots in service of feeding us little humans. We can't feed ourselves anymore.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Kroger being the second largest general retailer behind Walmart, and they're the fifth largest retailer. Yeah, the fifth largest retailer in the world and the fourth largest American-owned private employer in the United States. So
really,
yeah, I mean,
I did not know much about Kroger. That is, I'm glad you pulled up their Wikipedia page.
Hey, it's worth mentioning, because if they're going to be leading the charge in employment and a lot of your basic local grocery type of stuff, it's important to keep in mind the context here of a bunch of robot arms in a factory or a warehouse.
Well,
I guess
you can't slip on banana peels if your groceries are getting delivered by a robot.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see. We'll see. We'll find a flippy arm slipping on.
I can slip on banana peels whenever I want. I don't need a robot keeping me safe. Freedom.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
Okay.
What are we getting into?
I had a bunch of updates, or I do have a bunch of updates very briefly. Unfortunately, the brief updates jingle that somebody sent into us, I can't find it. I don't know what happened to it.
Have we been playing that recently?
We haven't been using it because there hasn't been a need for it. A lot of the stories fit into a nice category, but today I was like, I got a few of these that don't necessarily fit into a nice clean category, but I can't find it, so it's okay. These are some quick updates before we get into the politic and the whole Biden thing. This first one,
here's some brief updates. So we're going to update you, and then you'll be updated.
You'll be updated very briefly, and then updates. I've been watching too much Biden press conference.
That was a Biden jingle.
Well, anyway,
jingle denied.
Don't worry about it. This first one is about Elon Musk.
Some people think I'm an alien.
Some people think Elon's an alien, especially after this one. Elon tweeted out, if there's ever a scandal about me, please call it Elongate. Mm-hmm. And it was like, all right, Elon, pretty funny guy. But of course, my first thought, the elongated skulls.
Oh.
You know, the alleged Nephilim skulls, the remains. That's the only thing I could think of. I was like, why? What's the controversy, Elon,
made
or
famous,
scandal?
To the Fringy Folk by L.A. Marzulli and the Hunt for the Nephilim.
Right. So what scandal, Elon, and why would we call it Elongate? If it, he just walks around, all of a sudden he walks out, he's got an elongated head. We'll know what's up.
Follow the clues.
Yeah, the clues, it all dot connects. So anyway, I just, whatever. And you said that they already have like a crypto on Pancake Swap.
Yeah, somebody created a cryptocurrency called Elongate like immediately after.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was at zero when I looked at it, but
I don't think anybody,
of course,
is going to jump on that one.
You never know. I mean, that's the thing. There's a whole lifestyle around just creating a cryptocurrency based on whatever like Twitter trend is happening. Well, if just hope people buy.
If the person really wanted to make money, a quick buck, they would have made an Elongate NFT. That's how to do it. Not a whatever ICO or another coin. That's not how you do it right now.
Well, this hashtag Elongate he must have known that this was going to invite
trigger
some
us.
People. Yeah. Well, not even us, the whole world. You look at hashtag Elongate, and it was a good opportunity for people to dig up some of the things about Elon that a lot of people didn't know, like including his parents, owning, making their fortune in an emerald mine during apartheid in South Africa, and all sorts of sketchy connections and shady things he's done. That picture of him with Ghislaine Maxwell gets posted a lot. Just a lot of stuff. So there you go. If you want to learn some of the shadier things about Elon, you just go to Twitter and search hashtag Elongate. It kind of backfired on him, I think.
Maybe. Well, if you think he's a cybernetic future, neuro-implanted being already, then it's all planned. It's all part of the revealing, the apocalypse of the Nephilim. All right, so there's that. That's interesting. Also, this right here, I don't know if you saw this story, Basil, but it's about the Suez Canal.
Oh yeah, the ship.
The giant ship.
Seen a lot about this ship.
This music's super loud. I'm going to mute that music. But yeah, it's a huge ship that got stuck on the Suez Canal and backed up a whole bunch of supply shipping. And, we've heard a lot about the disruption of the supply chain in the last year. This seems very convenient. That
a lot of really interesting sort of conspiracy theories about this.
Yeah, I've heard everything from, they're just, they did it on purpose to stop the supply chain because they want to build back better, great reset. Yeah. I've also heard some creature was unleashed on the boat. And
I didn't hear that one. That's way more fun.
They had to shut it down because they don't need the some creature to get out there just yet.
Of course.
COVID-21.
The one I saw floating around was somehow connecting Evergreen, which I believe is a Korean shipping company, connected it to Hillary Clinton and Ghislaine Maxwell and the Pizzagate thing, and how this was a heroic attempt to stop some child trafficking or something.
Oh, so the cargo ship had some children?
Yeah, either the cargo ship had it or they purposefully ran this one aground or whatever to block up the canal to stop a different ship from making a delivery.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I have no evidence on this. This is just some tweets I saw.
You know, it's just always amazing when I see pictures of this thing, how big it is. You got like this whole.
It's unfathomable.
They're enormous.
If you haven't seen one in real person, in person, it's really hard to wrap your brain around how big these things are
and how they float. I don't get it. How do they float? Doesn't make
it's
sense.
the alien technology.
Oh, yeah, the Ever Given. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, just something to keep an eye on, I guess. There's not much to report other than some of the speculations going on out there.
I don't know why it's taking so long.
Yeah,
what's there for like a few days, hasn't it?
That's what I'm saying. It's weird.
Just throw that sucker into reverse. Come on. What's the problem?
Well, if they use what they do with rhinos, they can really help the people out. This is CNN.com. Why airlifting rhinos upside down is critical to conservation.
What?
And there's a picture of a rhino being carried upside down. I don't get it.
I don't think this is critical to conservation. I think somebody just...
What?
Whoa, sorry, that tripped me out. I opened up the Twitch stream and I heard myself talking about rhinos. It really threw me off. This sounds like somebody's playing a practical joke on these rhinos.
Well, they're blindfolded and thrown upside down. I mean, this is the beginning of Ninja Turtles. They're going to put him in some green goo.
Spider Rhino.
Well, no.
Well, what is the point of this? You just wanted to show us this picture?
Yes. I think it's, well, I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird thing. It's weird. It's weird and pointless. Why are they, first off, are they transferring rhinos?
Well, you know, rhinos got to get from A to B just like everybody else.
I don't know, man. There's something weird about it. There's something strange about these like upside down rhinos.
This might officially be the most unrelated story we've ever talked about. For those who are just listening to the podcast, Gonz is showing us many pictures from CNN World News of just exactly what we're talking about.
Do you know
rhinos getting flown around in helicopters, hung upside down with blindfolds on.
Okay,
I hope they're okay.
Well, yes, and I'll make a connection to the many Republicans in the United States who call themselves they're Republican by name only. What do they call them?
They don't call themselves rhinos.
Yeah, I know, but they're rhinos, right?
Other Republicans call them rhinos.
Yeah. So maybe.
Okay, it's a message from CNN to the Republicans in name only.
We own you.
Don't you know there's not going to be a Republican Party in 2024?
That's right. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead from.
This is messaging.
Yeah, the stories.
Elite messaging.
Biden said there's not going to be a Republican Party in 4 years. Or 3 years, actually. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, enough with the rhinos. Another real quick one. This one is sfgate.com. Southwest pilot on hot mic goes on expletive-laden rant against the Bay Area. Did you hear about this? People, learn to mute your mics. It's just a real simple thing. They didn't say who it was. I don't think you can
play this on the show.
I'm not going to play it. I'll censor myself. But March 24th, in a hot mic incident recorded over the Mineta San Jose International Airport's air traffic control scanner, an unidentified pilot was heard delivering an expletive-heavy rant, according to the travel site 1 Mile at a Time. The pilot said, quote, "F this place, GD liberal Fs." Then he continued, effing weirdos probably driving around in effing Hyundais, effing roads and stuff that go slow as F. And you don't.
He was having a bad day.
He was having a real bad day, I guess. Just mute your mics, folks. Number one. Number two, don't talk negative. Just don't do it. Don't talk like that. Just ever. Well, it's not good to talk like that.
You know what came into my mind when I heard about this? You know, this is obviously a conservative pilot who was flying in the Bay Area in California.
Yeah.
You know, he was just saying what anybody in the Central Valley is thinking. But I think that this is going to really spook some liberals getting on planes. I think this is an anti-travel little psyop. Now, do I think it's an actual psyop? I don't know, maybe, but it could serve. You know, we just read director of CDC saying, "Don't travel, don't mix with those filthy unvaccinated animals out there. Stay home." And I think the people who would have been rushing out to get their vaccines would just be terrified to think that their pilot might be a Republican.
Oh, I think you're 100%. That's got to be it. That's got to be it. They're like, and especially San Francisco area. That makes a whole lot of that makes way too much sense. That they're like, well, how are we going to get people to not get on planes? Oh, let's just a hot mic. Yeah. Make sure that everybody hears about the pilot.
Hot mic pilot to say some things that we can compare to a mass shooter or something like that.
Southwest too. Southwest pilot. Maybe it's a little sabotage from United and all the bigger airlines too. that will possibly use the passports.
You know, it's funny too. Southwest was one of the biggest offenders of, you know, put your mask on or we'll kick you off the plane.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really just trying to scare people out of flying.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. All right. One more quick update here.
666.
Oh, yes. A quick 666 update. This is from the Bitcoin archive. 666 Bitcoin just moved from an address last active 8.4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time for not touching your Bitcoin.
Somebody just remembered that they have their Bitcoin account.
Yeah, the Antichrist. He was like, "Oh yes, I have some Bitcoin. Let me move it. How will I signal to the world?" You know,
I wonder if it was somebody cashing out.
Yeah.
You know, a real blockchain forensics company could see if that went to like an exchange wallet or something, see if it got cashed out.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people on Twitter that report on all the big, large movements of cryptocurrencies from wallet to wallet because that is transparent. Doesn't always tell you who's doing it, but it is interesting, something to think about because I think Satoshi, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin, the higher the price of Bitcoin goes in dollars, the higher up the list of wealthiest person in the world Satoshi goes. Interestingly, this anonymous individual or group.
That makes sense.
Something to keep in mind. All right, you ready for the breakdown?
I can't wait. Let's talk about Biden.
It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Now politics.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
Hairy legs Joe Biden did his press conference yesterday. What was it, 65 days or 66?
Yeah, I think it was, I thought it was 65, but it'd be much funnier if it was 66.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we have, I was trying to keep it down to like a handful of clips, but I just couldn't do it. There's just way too much good stuff in here. And if you didn't watch it.
It really was oh yeah. Did you ask if I watched it?
No, I was watching. I was going to say, if you didn't watch it, this will be your download of how it went down. So
it was like every single question, every single answer, every single thing he said was hilarious. Sometimes in a sad way, sometimes in a funny way. But it really was an hour-long best of session with Joe giving his press conference there. And of course, just for a little background, of course, for those who don't know, the White House has been on a total media blackout for the past month, for the month of March. We'll see if they pick back up. I've really been missing my good personal friend, Jen Psaki, and talking about circling back and everything. But
circle back, but I'll have to circle back.
There was no circling back with Joe up on the stand, just him and the reporters in his little notebook. So we've got quite a few clips to go through. So I think this is kind of a best of playlist. There's definitely a lot more in there, but we couldn't. It would take the whole show. So what do you got?
All right. This first one here is about the border. I got 3 clips about the border that he talks about, all the stuff happening down there. And there's a reason for playing it. This first one isn't funny per se, but this one got fact checked by your left-wing media and the mainstream media. So let's see what he says here. Oh, come on.
The vast majority, the overwhelming majority of people coming to the border and crossing are being sent back. Thousands, tens of thousands of people who are over 18 years of age and single people, one at a time coming, have been sent back, sent home. We're sending back the vast majority of the families that are coming. We're trying to work out now with Mexico their willingness to take more of those families back. But that's what's happening. They're not getting across the border.
All right.
Thousands. You got like a Christopher Walken thing going.
Thousands. PolitiFact.com, fact-checking Joe Biden's first White House press conference. And that sentence where he says, we're sending back a vast majority of families that are coming. PolitiFact says, we rated his claim false.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
While most adults coming alone are being expelled under a public health law, the same is not true for families, according to federal data. PolitiFact getting in the debunking game.
Yeah, good old PolitiFact. We've actually noticed this trend over the past couple months. We'll bring up a PolitiFact fact check, and they have not been shy about fact checking liberals, which is interesting because they're a liberal publication.
I think they realized how biased they were the last 4 years, and so to gain a little bit of credibility back, they have to do a little bit of
I don't know. Later on, when we play more clips, I do have some like kind of wrap up stuff I want to talk about that includes that.
Okay. All right. So there's that. PolitiFact calling one of Joe Biden's claims false.
He's lying.
He's like, well, really? A politician lying?
Imagine that.
This next one is about the children who show up at the border.
The vast majority of people under the age of 18 come to the United States come with a telephone number on a wristband, or come with a telephone number in their pocket in the United States. A mother, a father, a close relative, a grandmama or grandpa. What was happening before is it's taking literally weeks and weeks and maybe even months before anybody pick up the phone and call to see if there really was someone there. Well, we've set up a system now where within 24 hours there's a phone call made as that child crosses the border. And then a verification system being put in place as of today to determine quickly whether or not that is a trafficker being called or that is actually a mom, a dad, and or a close relative.
Okay. First of all, is this a mandate to get across
right
the border is to have a phone number on a wristband? Or the people in Honduras, they're like, oh, before you leave, son, don't forget your wristband with our phone number on it.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I mean, did you, real quick before I spoil anything, did you get any clips regarding the DNA tracking or?
He did mention that, didn't he?
Yeah, he talked about how, right now they all come with this phone number. So we call the phone number and figure out who it is. But soon we'll be able to match them with DNA. Yeah. Like it just harkened back to like government experimentations on regarding DNA and immigrant children coming over the border. It's like, okay, you psychopath.
And the other part of this clip, it's like, oh, we're going to call him. Hey, hello. Are you a human trafficker?
Yeah,
what in the world are you talking about, man? No, we are not human trafficker. I am father of that child. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand the point of this. Like, what?
Yeah.
How does that make anybody safer or the children safer or what?
I will say this. It makes sense that like you give the child the phone number, put it on a wristband. So like when they do make it to America, they can call you there's real, parental reasons for that. And there's also trafficker reasons for that. Did you line up a clip about the reporter who said they took a trip down there and they found a kid with a phone number and nobody had called the phone number. So we, the reporters, called the number?
I didn't clip it, but yeah, I think it was right after this.
So yeah, included in this, one of the reporters was like, yeah, well, I think it was from Univision. I think it was the Spanish speaking channel. They're like, yeah, we went down there. We found a kid. We called the number on the wristband and we talked to his mother from Honduras or whatever. And they actually got a hold of the mother, or at least somebody claiming to be the mother. And the mom was like, yeah, no, I sent him up there because Biden's a nice guy. I sent my 9-year-old child to walk 3,000 miles because I was sure he would be able to get in. That's exactly why I sent him up there. It sucks down here.
Yeah.
I wanted my child to get to America.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with what Biden was saying in response to that. I got one more clip about the whole crossing of the border thing here. And let's see, is this it? I think this is it here.
Will you commit to allowing journalists to have access to the facilities that are overcrowded moving forward?
I will commit when my plan very shortly is underway to let you have access to not just them, but to other facilities as well.
Okay, and just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
That's snide. I love it. That Biden administration snark, where they really hate being asked serious questions by the media, and they're always snarky back. Jen Psaki does it. Biden does it. They love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I could go on and on, but yeah. Oh, the other thing I loved was the reporter. Remember, it was kids in cages when it was Trump. Mm-hmm. And then more recently, it's like, no, they're not kids in cages. They're kids in containers. They're in containers, not cages. And then a reporter was like, yeah, we went down there and visited. We saw, so many children in pods. You hear that? Yeah. Now it's kids in pods.
They're podcasting.
They're podcasting.
They're
kids.
podcasting children.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
All right.
I just think it's funny how, can you be clear? And he says, I don't know. To be clear.
To be clear. No, I can't be clear at all.
And it's funny because it's like, oh, no, you guys can't go down there until we implement our plan.
Right. Yeah, because it's awful right now and embarrassing. And we have more kids in pods than have ever been in pods. And we're shipping them by bus to interior of the country FEMA camps. So no, you can't see them.
Yeah, this is horrible. All right, we're going to get into a few filibuster clips here. These are just classic takeaways. He had some classic moments, I must say. These will live in infamy. And
you mean some beautiful beautiful Biden gaffes?
Yes, these will. I mean, someone's going to put a whole montage of this stuff together. All right, first one. Biden is over 120 years old.
With regard to the filibuster, I believe we should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago.
So,
yeah.
You said he was making a joke.
Well, there's two options. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, because he's made that joke before. I mean, he's made the joke like, when I first went to the Senate, I rode a dinosaur in. He loves talking about how old he is, which, I guess he has nothing else to do but joke about it because it is kind of terrifying that we have an almost 80-year-old president. So it's either that he's trying to make a funny joke in which his comical timing was just completely absent. He just rolled right through it. Like there's no clue that it was a joke. The other thing was I was kind of trying to figure out, he's talking about the filibuster. in the Senate 120 years ago. I was like, is he trying to refer to like, did the filibuster become a thing 120 years ago? Is he trying to like state a historical fact? But the fact of the matter is, it was completely unclear to me.
Oh, it was very confusing. And I mean, some of these other clips continue on with that confusion.
Or he's a vampire.
That's the other option. He's truly a
That's
bloodsucker.
the other option.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So he goes on to talk about the how people are tired of the whole filibuster thing.
It used to be you had to stand there and talk and talk and talk and talk until you collapsed. And guess what? People got tired of talking and tired of collapsing.
Yeah. This was so random.
What? People got tired of collapsing?
Well, so traditionally the filibuster, you're basically just killing time until the clock runs out on a certain vote.
Right.
So, the filibuster is you line up a whole bunch of senators or a number of senators to just kind of get up there and run down the clock. And these guys, they got to talk and talk and talk for the whole business day, basically. And then they come back and do it the next day. Fun fact. So there's a whole lot of talk about getting rid of the filibuster, which, Democrats loved the filibuster when Trump was president. They filibustered plenty of times because they loved sabotaging Trump's administration and at the time, the Republican controlled Senate or House, whichever one it was. So, the Democrats loved filibustering when they weren't in charge. But now that they got Biden in charge, they got to get rid of it. Got to get rid of the filibuster. One notable fun fact about filibustering is the Democrats actually hold the record for the longest filibuster in history, which
how long is it?
It was 60 days.
Gosh.
For 60 days, they filibustered. And you know what this was about? Segregation. This was it was a Jim Crow segregation filibuster where the Democrats at the time, was trying to stop desegregation.
Well, there you go.
Which is a very inconvenient fact that they do not enjoy people bringing up.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's another one. A couple more filibuster clips here. This one is, I think he loses his train of thought here.
I'm going to say something outrageous. I have never been particularly poor at calculating how to get things done in the United States Senate. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. We're going to get a lot done. And if we have to, if there's complete lockdown and chaos as a consequence of the filibuster, then we'll have to go beyond what I'm talking about.
Oh, poor guy.
No, I feel bad.
Okay.
He's a 78-year-old man, and they're juicing him up and sending him out there.
Oh, saying, man, Miss Kim.
Yeah. How many news press conferences have all the questions and the people asking the questions listed before? It doesn't seem like a real true press conference.
No. I mean, and yeah, he has... I thought it was strange. I'm like, this guy can't remember anyone on his own cabinet. He can't name anybody. And now he knows all the names of the reporters in the room. No, he doesn't.
He's pulling up his notes. That's why he's like, let me pull up my notes here and let me...
Exactly.
Oh, this one, it made me laugh, but it also made me feel sad for the guy. I mean, it's like, man, they're really...
It's elder abuse. It
is elder abuse. This guy has no clue what's going on. And more than elder abuse, this is an abuse on the American people, I think. Why do we have to suffer this? Okay, well, we know why. But last one here, last clip from the filibuster section. I put flirting. Maybe he's not flirting. Maybe he tried to make a funny joke with the reporter here. But and then he goes into my ISO for the entire Biden press conference, and we will play What'd He Say after this.
Okay. Where am I here? Let me see. Caitlin?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but first, I'd like to follow up on a question from Yamiche, and that's on the filibuster.
That counts as a question, but go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it quick. It's a quick question. Regarding the filibuster, at John Lewis's funeral, President Barack Obama said he believed the filibuster was a relic of the Jim Crow era. Do you agree?
Yes.
If not, why not abolish it if it's a relic of the Jim Crow era?
Think.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
Okay, wait.
What did he just say?
We're gonna count how long that pause was. All right, let's do it real quick. How many? We're gonna count Mississippis.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
If not, why not abolish it if it's a relic of the Jim Crow era?
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
I think you could have fit 7 Mississippi in there too.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and play. What did Biden say? I'm going to play that just isolated one more time here.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
Okay.
All right. Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
That's close. All right.
Okay.
It's close.
Right.
Okay, so I think he was trying to quote Otto von Bismarck, who said, politics is the art of the possible, the attainable, the art of the next best.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
What does that have to do with
filibustering?
The filibuster.
I don't know. It's something old. It's like an old quote of a guy named Otto von Bismarck. Is this Bismarck like North Dakota Bismarck? Anyway,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I feel like my IQ is going. Anyway, so that's my favorite part of the whole thing.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible.
Yeah, let's see what he says to finish up here.
Electropolitics. Maybe he's talking about cyborg.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible. Let's figure out how we can get this done and move in the direction of significantly changing the abuse of even the filibuster rule first. It's been abused from the time it came into being by an extreme way in the last 20 years. Let's deal with the abuse first.
By an extreme way.
It sounds like you're moving closer to eliminating the filibuster. Is that correct?
I answered your question.
I'm done.
It's not a yes or no. That is I answered your question.
Got your answer. You didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this filibuster thing, this is coming from, I think, a little bit more radical people who are tired of, the thing with the filibuster. It's not that other democracies don't have their equivalent or have the filibuster thing.
Is it a parliament thing?
It may. I don't really know the full history of it. But it's a beautiful aspect of American politics, kind of like the Electoral College, where it doesn't make a lot of sense. It kind of hinders a flow of getting things done easily. It's a bureaucratic tool, but it's to empower a minority. And that's the big problem that we have when, with a lot of these liberal ideas about what to do with American politics. They want to get rid of the Electoral College, which is a tool to disempower majority states like California and New York, who, if it was one vote, one voter, one vote situation, California and New York would decide the president every single election.
Yeah.
And it would basically turn the other 48 states into serf class states where they just exist to serve the voters in California and New York, which is why the Electoral College is, it's a balancing political technology in the US. And the filibuster is similar in that, when you have a Democrat controlled majority in the Senate or the House with the executive branch, in theory, Democrats would be able to do whatever they wanted, and there's nothing that a Republican could do to stop them. But the filibuster is this little tool, this little piece of political technology that empowers a minority to slow things down. So it doesn't, so for whatever party is in charge, doesn't turn into a runaway freight train and completely change American life in a 4-year period. And, this is during the Trump era. The Democrats loved filibustering. They did it all the time, and it stopped Trump in his tracks many times. And they are now afraid that it's going to stop Biden because they want to
backfire.
Yeah, and that's how it is. So, yeah, they want to get rid of the filibuster. And yeah, is it frustrating? Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. It's one of the most elegant ways that a bureaucracy can fail is when you empower a minority within the bureaucracy. But it's very American, and that's kind of the whole point. I'm actually, through my studies following this Biden thing, I'm kind of into the filibuster. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, stop filibustering. We're going to get to the next clip here.
I'm a huge fan and practitioner of the filibuster.
Apparently, it started in ancient Rome with Roman Senator Cato the Younger. And he was one of the first ones because he knew that certain things had to, the votes had to be in by dusk. So he would just keep talking. So and then it was picked up by the UK and and then other democratic nations or whatever, picked up on it. But yeah, I mean, it's again, it's interesting. It's like you say, it's a political tool, technology, if you want to call it that. But yeah, if it's always interesting how if it works for you, you're for it politically, whatever side of the aisle you're on. If it works or could work against you, you want to ban it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next topic here, the filibuster after the filibusters. This one was North Korea. Now I included this clip because I don't think Joe could have answered this question without his notes.
What is your red line on North Korea?
Let me say that, number one, UN Resolution 1718 was violated by those particular missiles that were tested, number one. We're consulting with our allies and partners, and there will be responses if they choose to escalate.
He's reading all of this.
We will respond accordingly. But I'm also prepared for some form of diplomacy, but it has to be conditioned upon the end result of denuclearization. So that's what we're doing right now, consulting with our allies.
What?
Yeah, he's talking about consulting the allies. This is like the most transparently puppet moment, I think, of the whole thing. Because first off, he's just reading directly off of his notes, like word for
word. And his
word.
Notes say nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything. Just North Korea, you're going to negotiate. I think it's supposed to make him look like, we're taking a hardline stance on, and it's the typical Democrat thing. Obama said the same thing, like, the only way we'll negotiate with North Korea is if they talk about denuclearization. Right. And
well, specifically, he said, if they choose to escalate, there will be repercussions. Otherwise, we're talking with our allies. Right. So he's basically saying we're not going to do anything unless they escalate, and whatever that means. But we're just talking to our bros about it.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like it's all stuff the bros gave him to say. So nothing of his own thought. It's all, handed to him.
We know that.
Yeah, nothing surprising there. Okay.
Real quick, before I give anything away, did you get the clip about him and Xi Jinping spending a lot of private time together?
I was going to do it, but he was so long-winded, and I was getting to the point where we had like close to 15, 16 clips, so I didn't include it.
That's okay.
But
I think it's a great clip, but I will just fill it in when it's relevant.
Okay. Yep. We'll get there. This next one is about voter laws. This is the This is he gets mad. He gets mad here, and this is where we get the title of the episode. Woe to Jim Eagle Joe. And he mentions, pay close attention. He says he's going to say 3 things. What are those 3 things? Here we go.
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick.
First of all, the zoom on this is really funny. It's from like the camera that they chose for when Joe started talking is zoomed all the way out, and they have to zoom all the way back in. And it's just a really bad visual. It's like a bad production thing. It's like a not the worst zoom. I've seen worse zooms, but
they're trying to make it all
dramatic, but it's
dramatic.
It just looks bad. It's a bad look. Okay, anyway, sorry. I'm going to start over here.
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing 3 things. 1, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House. Number 1. Number 2, educating the American public. The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters.
Chill out, Joe.
Folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. Voters.
Okay.
And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic what they're trying to do.
It's gigantic.
And it cannot be sustained. And do everything in my power, along with my friends in the House and the Senate, to keep that from becoming the law.
This is gigantic.
It's huge. Now you Googled Jim Eagle as I did. I did a date limit.
I did not just Google Jim Eagle. I spent like an hour looking for who Jim Eagle was. And I don't know why. It was me. I made a mistake. I had too much trust. I'm like, surely this is a reference to something I need to know about. How about you? You find out who Jim Eagle was?
No, all I found was like puppets of Eagle Jim. No, not Eagle Jim. I don't know his name. It was Eagle something. It was some puppet. And no, there was nothing. And then I realized,
surely.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, surely he's like referencing somebody, some song or something.
Jim Crow and Jim Eagle because eagles are bigger than crows.
That's right.
Surely that could not be what our president is saying.
That's why at the top of the show I said that I'm either am or am not. I said I'm not Jim Ostrich. It's the biggest known
bigger
bird.
Than an eagle. It's humongous. Kit over on YouTube says Jim Eagle, the newest Avenger. Yeah, man, this is when it got sad. When I realized that this makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. That he was just saying like eagle is a bigger bird than a crow.
So it's a bigger deal.
This man is just lost it.
Yeah, and
any Democrat talking about Jim Crow is just hilarious.
And it's not even, I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to be like, oh, a dad joke.
Yeah.
But it's,
but he's so like serious and mad.
That's the problem. He's serious, number one.
It's the weird comedic timing. Like he's very serious and talking about how this is like the worst thing to ever happen to America, and then throws in like makes Jim Crow look like James H. Emu.
Yeah, and I don't want my president. I'm going to say I know people get triggered with that, but I'm just saying our president here in the United States.
President.
I don't want him joking about stuff like that if it's a real big deal.
Well, right, exactly.
You don't want him to be like making these weird comparisons with, I don't know. It's just,
anyways,
sad.
Jim Eagle will go down in infamy. I mean, that if that doesn't make it into the history books, our system is broken.
Yeah. And it's funny because, and we didn't include it, but there were some, a lot of like news, like M5M news outlets trying to explain the Jim Eagle. Like, I think somebody even said like, we should make Jim Eagle into, we should bring it into the common vernacular of our conversations.
Really?
Yes, somebody said that. Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up now.
Yeah. Hold on.
I'll see who.
Dang it! Somebody beat me to it.
What?
Dang it! Somebody got at Jim Eagle on Twitter.
Oh, of course.
But 0 followers and following 0. What? Oh my gosh, cons.
What?
Jim Eagle joined Twitter in 2008.
Oh no, he's a time traveler.
He's a real man. I must follow you, Jim Eagle.
Oh, this man received.
What?
This man's probably going to become famous, whoever he is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
No,
Are you going to say something about the guy? Or
no.
Okay.
No, there's nothing to say.
Former Obama advisor Dan Pfeiffer said, quote, Jim Eagle is a good term and we should make it catch on.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's move on from Jim Eagle.
Okay.
We got to do something with Jim Eagle though.
I know.
It's too good.
That's why I have Joe with his eagle wings on the
It's a good
artwork.
term. We got to make it stick, Gons.
I know. All right. This is a couple clips of Joe talking about 2024 and the predecessor.
My predecessor needed to. My predecessor. Oh God, I miss him. No, the answer is yes. My plan is to run for re-election. That's my expectation.
Yeah, that's funny.
Why is he laughing? It's so
Again,
weird.
it's a joke thing, you know? He's like, I miss him. Don't you guys? Wasn't that a crazy thing? He made me look so good.
Still so weird.
But just such a weird thing to say.
Does any of this land on anybody? Is there like an old contingency of old politicians from his era that are like oh so funny. You missed the predecessor. This is a fantastic joke, Joe.
Schiff watching live, just chuckling at every one of these. Yeah. Jim Eagle, Joe, you slay me.
And this one was very strange as well. This clip happens to be 33 seconds long, so keep that in mind. But he says something about the Republican Party when asked about 2024.
You believe you'll be running against former President Trump?
Oh, come on. I don't even think about it. I have no idea. I have no idea whether there'll be a Republican Party.
What?
Do you? I know you don't have to answer my question, but I mean, do you? I mean, look, this is the way I view things. I become a great respecter of fate in my life. I set a goal of this that's in front of me to get things done for the people I care most about, which are hardworking, decent American people who really having it stuck to them.
What's stuck to the hardworking Americans?
So many weird things in there. Yeah, saying you don't know if the Republican Party is going to exist in 2024 is weird. Asking the reporter twice.
Do you? Well, you don't have to answer that. That's weird.
Says it twice. This is a weird thing to say. Again, it's kind of this weird defensiveness that whole administration gets. And then going into fate.
Yeah, I'm a respecter of fate.
And something sticking to hardworking Americans. What is sticking to the hardworking Americans?
Know.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Okay. I got a good rush of laughter from this. I know it's not great to be laughing at them, but
I swear there's more in this. I mean, I talked about the filibuster. It's not just all making fun of them.
We're trying not to, but it's hard to not.
It is not easy to do.
It's just so good. Okay, this next one here, we got only see, I'm turning into Joe. I'm listening to too much Joe last couple days. Start slurring my words. Okay, next one is about the middle class. Biden gets really mad on this one. I mean, this is a weird moment. He gets really, really upset.
2, to rebuild the backbone of this country. The middle class, hardworking people and people struggling to get in the middle class. They built America. Whoa. And unions built them.
Oh. Okay.
It's so weird. He goes from this like very calming paternal thing that he's been doing lately.
Yeah.
You know, the spirit of America. We need to bring back the spirit of America. But they build this country and unions build them. And then it immediately goes back into like, it's like he scared himself a little bit. He's like, and so, yes, the American workers, they're just so good.
It's almost like he goes into some kind of weird like dad mode to be in that mode. And then he gets kind of like because his kids aren't listening, you know, and he gets mad.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. It's like dad snapping for a second, like realizing that he snapped and he kind of needs to get it back in order.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that's a relic because he's always been a big union guy. And, you know, with all the union talk, you know, there's the Amazon union busting. There's, I mean, it's been a battle for as long as American corporate system has been alive. But he's built his whole thing on the union man, the hardworking American, you know, talking about his dad and his hardworking people. And what's the place where he's from? Scranton, New York, you know, where all the union men live.
Scranton, New York?
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's where he always talks about being from, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So, you know, he's gotten a lot of political currency out of being this, you know, working man's politician.
Mm-hmm.
That I think the second unions came up, he kind of like dipped into this like gruff, you know, union man talk. You got to talk stern when you're talking about the hardworking men out in the wherever they're out there. Not podcasting, I'll tell you that much.
Do you think he knows what podcasts are? Like if he said, "Hey Joe, have you listened to that podcast?" Do you think he'll know what it is?
I think he knows how to act like he knows what they are.
Oh yeah, cushions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this next one is the China thing. Before he said this part of it, this is a little more content driven. He did talk about how he's such good friends with Xi Jinping of China and how he spent so much time with him over the phone. And
not even that. Specifically, he said, I've spent more time one-on-one with Xi Jinping than any other world leader.
Yep. He says he was the number one. Yeah. The most he spent.
He had one-on-ones with Xi Jinping because it would be uncouth for Obama to do it. So Obama couldn't be seen as spending a bunch of private time with Xi Jinping. So Biden did it on behalf of Obama, spent more time alone with the Chinese president than any other world leader. And it goes really into this whole thing. Oh, nuts. One thing I really wanted to get clipped, but I just didn't do it, is and maybe it's in the clip. Does this include the Xi Jinping doesn't have a Democrat little d bone in his body?
No, I don't have it. But yeah, he did say that. He talked about how, well, maybe there's a little bit of it in there. There might be. Actually,
this
because
was one of the timestamps that I sent you, and I think it's a really important thing because he says something very specific. He says now he's trying to like he says all this stuff about how he spent so much time alone with Xi Jinping, and then he spends the next little while trying to separate himself from Xi Jinping. It's like he realized he made it sound weird that he's best friends with the president of China, and then goes on this rant about how Xi Jinping, and he uses this one phrase, Xi Jinping doesn't have a Democrat little d bone in his body. Now,
racist.
Oh, well, okay. So there's that. But what is Democrat Big D?
The party.
That's the party, the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
What is Democrat little d?
I'm guessing he's trying to say just democracy in general, like a democratic.
Exactly. The abstract idea of democracy.
Right.
So he specifically says that Xi Jinping does not have a little d democracy bone in his body. But why would he need to separate those things? If he's trying to separate it out, but just by logistical, logic, he's saying he doesn't have the little d Democrat. Okay, does he have the big D Democrat bone in his body?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like maybe he has a capital Democrat bone in his body, but and then he goes into how he's an autocrat.
That's what I was going to say.
Autocracy.
He was comparing not just China, but just the emerging world with the autocracies, is going to be the big enemy of democracy, not communism and all this stuff. So he was, I think that's what he was trying to get at was.
Yeah, but he's kind of saying that like the capital D Democrat does have something to do with the ideology of Xi Jinping, the autocrat. I don't know. It was just weird. The logical breakdown, and maybe he meant to say this, maybe not. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Maybe it was the truth trying to come out. He was making a comparison that, maybe he doesn't believe in democracy, but he does have some relation to Democrats, which was just an interesting. And then you set that side by side with the fact that, they're just such best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Very strange. Well, this clip goes into the percentages of federal spending and compares it to the 60s, which I don't think is the greatest thing to do, but here it is.
Mm-hmm. Back in the 60s, we used to invest a little over 2% of our entire GDP in pure research and investment in science. Today, it's 0.7%. I'm going to change that. We're going to change that. The future lies in who can, in fact, own the future as it relates to technology, quantum computing, a whole range of things, including in medical fields. We're going to invest in medical research, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, the things, industries of the future, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotech, and we're going to make real investments. China is out investing us by a long shot because their plan is to own that future.
So there you go. I don't think he's lying there. I think China is spending more on that stuff. It's interesting to hear the words quantum computer mentioned by Biden.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Really weird how that used to be just some fringy, weird thing that we would talk about on our podcast. And now it's like the president is talking about it.
Yeah. And the other thing, there was one more thing that I was going to say about this. Oh, the 2% versus 0.7 or 0.6% or whatever. Do you know the difference between 2% of the GDP in 1960 compared to the GDP of today? I mean, it's like it's a massive, if you're going to look at it in percentages, sure. Okay. All right. We're spending less of a percentage of the overall GDP into science. But if we're talking bottom line dollars,
right?
I was trying to do the math because I couldn't find the chart, but I did find a chart at one point, but I couldn't find it.
It's highly oversimplistic what he's saying.
They're spending way more money than they were in the 60s, but it's all about percentages.
And that's not taking into account the increased population growth. That's not taking into account the GDP percentages that have changed because of manufacturing going overseas since the 60s. Yeah, he's comparing apples and oranges, and it's very manipulative.
Yeah. How to lie with statistics 101.
Yeah,
all right,
totally.
This one, I think this one was one of the main things too. This is a gun control. I included the question because it's the setup. Up until this point, I don't think they had even mentioned gun control.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to speed up his answer at certain points. You'll see what I did there because let me just play it.
I know you haven't had a chance to address the tragedies in Georgia and Colorado. You had said to stay tuned for actions that you might take on gun control. Wondering if you've made a decision either about sending the manufacturer liability bill that you had promised on day one to Capitol Hill, or executive actions like going after ghost guns or giving money to cities and states to battle gun control.
All the above. It's a matter of timing. As you've all observed, successful presidents better than me have been successful in large part because they know how to time what they're doing, order it, decide on priorities, what needs to be done. The next major initiative is, and I'll be announcing it Friday in Pittsburgh in detail, is to rebuild the infrastructure, both physical and technological infrastructure of this country.
For guns or?
Significant numbers of really good paying jobs. Really good paying jobs. And some people might want to know, that used to be a great Republican initiative.
And there he goes. He's ranting about not guns.
We have the best airports that can accommodate air travel. Ports that can get out quickly. So business aside, some of you, if you're a local reporters, and you find you're trying to business, it's the first business asked.
It goes on for a while. Had to speed up even more.
What are we doing?
Get through the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing. So there's so much we can do that's good stuff, makes people healthier, and creates good jobs.
So we started with guns, question about guns, and after the entire rant, we end up with...
Well, this was hilarious. I mean, this was his moment. Now, he said a couple very interesting things. First of all, the reporter's asking about ghost guns, which is just so ridiculous. I mean, ghost guns are not... I mean, look, for those who don't know, ghost guns are guns that are built outside of the manufacturing system, or I believe if they've had
registered or something, right?
Serial numbers scratched off. Yeah. So it's just a gun that's like not in the registration system, which is such a small part. When you're talking about gun violence, and especially the mass shootings that trigger this kind of talk, ghost guns really have nothing to do with these mass shootings.
Yeah.
Usually mass shooters, especially the kinds that make real international or national attention, they don't care about ghost guns. I mean, they know they're either going to die or kill themselves or get busted. You know, they're not going to get away with it. So the ghost gun conversation is kind of just nothing. It's just like a scary word that sounds good in a question. But the weird things that Biden was saying, like, it's all about timing. He's basically pushing off the questions, making it sound like he has some big plan, but it's all about timing. And a good president better than me knows that it's all about timing. And so I'll be talking in Pennsylvania about it on Friday, which is today. Actually, I'd be interested to see what he talks about. But somewhere in there, I don't know if it made it into the clip that you played. It might have been in the sped up part.
No, it was in there. We talked about the priority.
Yeah. Basically, more or less, Biden just said it's not a priority, which goes back to this trend that we've been seeing, this opportunity for Democrats who, vote blue no matter who, got Biden in because they're just so outraged about the bad orange man. And this was their moment to have their guy go ahead and get rid of guns forever. He basically blatantly said, it's not a priority, even given the shootings in Georgia and all over the place, or wherever. I forget where the other one was. What is a priority is to build back better. He didn't say build back better, but infrastructure, physical things. He says it's not a priority, and then rambles on for 5 minutes and says he's going to make jobs. It's all about jobs. Just ends up in jobs. Yeah, healthy. These poor being Democrats, healthy, man. Healthy in jobs. Okay, so this is how the thing ended. This is the last 26 seconds. You can see him run out of gas. He, for those of you watching, you will see him zone out, and for those of you listening, you will hear him completely zone out.
No, because I know they have to posture for a while. They sort of got to get it out of their system. This is but I'm ready to work with any Republican who wants to help solve the problem or make the situation better. But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I'm out of here. When I first heard that the first time I was listening, which was kind of like, I was doing stuff around the house too, so I wasn't super intent, but I thought he said, I'm gone. I was like, oh, it's so hip. Folks, I'm gone. I'm out. But he said I'm going. So yeah. But, there you go. There you go. It was great. We may have had too many clips for the show, but we just couldn't resist. The whole thing was just a smorgasbord, and it really was the realization of all the fears of that guy we talked about in the last episode that said this is a bad idea. Yeah, Biden doing his thing. He should never do it. We should put it off longer. Nothing good can come from a Biden press conference. That guy must have been sitting there going, "Oh no, I told you, I told you." Somebody should do a drinking game with Biden speeches. I know they're kind of early in the day, but I think that's dangerous. I think. You might be highly inebriated by the end of something like that. Like every pause, more than 2 seconds. Oh, no, you're done. Yeah. Well, at least we know. At least the emergency room visits would overrun our hospital system. Oh, yeah. We would have. Yeah, forget COVID. This would end it. This would end it all. Yep. At least we know. This is our takeaway. Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Joe. Okay, let's see here. Well, what do we have next coming up? A couple more politics stories here. This one is from the Los Angeles Times. And the headline here is Crackdown at Echo Park Homeless Encampment Begins as LAPD moves in and clashes with protesters. Authorities on Wednesday night moved to close down a homeless encampment in Echo Park that has become a highly charged test of city leaders' struggle to balance constituents' demands for clean streets and public spaces with their ever-growing tragedy of people who have no homes. Scores of police moved into the area where they were met by more than 200 protesters who opposed the sweep. The Los Angeles Police Department repeatedly told protesters to leave, and by early Thursday morning, the crowd had dwindled and the protest had mostly wound down. Just before 10 p.m., park rangers flanked by LAPD officers began taping notices of closure onto trees and light poles on the east side of the park, where homeless people have been camping through the COVID-19 pandemic. The sign said the park closes Thursday and gave notice that all personal property must be removed from the park, quote, including, but not limited to, tents, chairs, tables, backpacks, bags, and personal items. City contractors protected by LAPD officers unloaded fence from flatbed trucks. Should be fences, maybe.
Food lights helped guide their work as they pounded the panels of fence into...
Floodlights?
Ooh?
You said food lights.
Flood lights? Oh, man.
Yeah.
This Biden thing really messed me up.
Man.
Floodlights helped guide their work as they pounded the panels of fence into the ground. Once it was up, the workers unfurled green fabric and hung it along the fence. Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore said homeless residents inside the park will be allowed to stay there overnight, but that no one else can enter. And encampment residents must leave within 24 hours, he added. Some protesters saw that statement as a victory. "We won the night," one organizer shouted. "I live here and I consider tonight a victory," added one resident of the camp. Police just before 10:30 gave a dispersal order to the crowd through a loudspeaker from a white truck, officially declaring an unlawful assembly. There were some clashes, with police seen shoving some protesters and some bottles and other objects thrown at officers. Police tried to push protesters back from the park, but they refused to move. At one point, a line of police officers in riot gear moved slowly along Glendale Boulevard at the edge of the lake, telling protesters to clear the area. It goes on here. The protesters...
Yeah, so they're protesting the homeless people getting kicked out, is
yes.
what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like it was a mix too, but it's very interesting because politically speaking, in LA especially, the governor and especially like the mayor of LA, very unpopular. Nobody supports them anymore. Not even like the liberal Democrat. Nobody supports them. And so I find it interesting that they're starting to do some cleanups, and it's probably
their whole thing. They were kind of like Austin, weren't they? Where it's the camp anywhere you want situation.
Yeah, out in public. There a lot of the tourist areas were just covered in tents.
Yeah,
and it's going to be hard. Where are they going to go? They're just literally going to be pushed into other places.
Always the thing. It's such a political move to kick them all out of a park or something, because where are they going to go? They're just going to go somewhere else in the city. Like it's just something where the mayor can say, I rousted them in the park. I'm doing my best, trying so hard.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what is needed with the homeless isn't housing, because I know there's some ridiculous bill, at least out here in Southern California, where I think they spent, it was something like $30-something thousand per unit or per room or something like that homeless can stay in. And it's just an exorbitant amount of money. And it's not a housing issue. It's like a lot of it is mental health. That's like the main issue.
And with a lot of shelters and stuff, they only allow you, you can't do drugs.
You can't do drugs in the shelters.
When you're hooked on drugs, I mean, when you have a physical addiction to drugs, you can't not have your drugs. Or, I mean, some of them might die. Not that I'm trying to defend drug addiction. I'm just saying, if you have a serious enough drug addiction, you gotta have the drugs. You can't not have them, because they could actually die of DTs in the shelter. Also, a lot of these shelters, they have limits to how much personal property you can bring in. Like it's 2 bags or something you can bring into some of the shelters, and
no shopping carts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you own more than 2 bags worth of stuff, you have to get rid of, you got to leave your stuff on the street.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons why the shelter system doesn't help as much as people would like.
Yeah. And the other issue and moving these people around, are they just going to start congregating in more suburban type of places?
That's the problem. Yeah, you roust them from a park, they just go under a bridge. You roust them from the bridge, they go into an alleyway. You roust them from the alleyway, they go out into the center divider on the highway. It's like rousting them doesn't help very much. It just makes the politicians look like they're doing something, and it makes the people who are directly next to the park, gives them a little bit of relief, but somebody else in the city has to deal with it then.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated situation.
It is. So there's that. I mean, just as a side note, because it's one of the major things that came out of the whole pandemic lockdown situation. It was the explosion of homelessness in California. And, obviously, again, it's not a good political look, but it's just, and I'm not saying that we have the perfect answer other than, the Christian thing to do is to take care of the homeless, but man, it's tough. What do you do, when all they want are drugs and be left alone pretty much,
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah. It's like I said, complicated situation.
Complicated for sure.
Speaking of a complicated situation, Gons, I've got a story from insider.com here. And the headline, there have been 103 mass shootings in the U.S. so far in 2021. Here's the full list.
Oh, 7 in 7 days wasn't enough. Now we got to.
Yeah, right. There is that story about 7 shootings in 7 days and how that was so appalling from CNN, how there's a spike. But no, are we even 103 days into 2021? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. When the White House went to lower its flags to honor the 10 people shot dead in Colorado supermarket on Monday, staffers realized their work was already done. The flags were still lowered from a shooting less than a week prior. That's a hard sentence to follow. The U.S.'s relatively unusual gun protections. What the heck? The U.S.'s relatively unusual gun protections baked into the Constitution have created a murky relationship between firearms and American citizens. Some states have restrictive gun laws, while others have more relaxed regulations, allowing for greater rates of ownership for hunting and protection. But firearms have become one of the leading causes of death for Americans of all ages, and the second leading cause of death for children under the age of 19, according to the Giffords Law Center, a gun safety organization. That's interesting. I've never heard that stat before. Second leading cause of death for children under the age of 19. What's the first one? Tide Pods? According to the Gun Violence Archive, a nonprofit that tracks shootings in the U.S., there have been 103 mass shootings this year. To put that into perspective, March 23rd is the 81st day of 2021. That means on average, there have been more than one mass shooting each day. Then they show some graphs and charts here. Now, again, the official definition of a mass shooting is 4 people shot, whether they are killed or injured, doesn't matter, just 4 people shot. And yeah, you go down the list, you got 2 killed, 2 injured in Detroit. You've got 10 killed, 1 injured in Boulder. You've got 5.
That first one was in Cleveland, Ohio. It was Detroit Avenue. But,
sorry, you're right.
That's
yeah,
okay.
Cleveland, Ohio. And it goes down to 4 injured in New Orleans and things like that. Mass shooting has different definitions. I don't think we need to go into that, do we?
Yeah.
Let's see what they have to say. The definition of mass shooting differs from source to source, but the Gun Violence Archive defines a mass shooting as a single incident in which 4 or more people are shot, not counting the shooter, in the same incident in roughly the same time and space. Yeah, that's okay. We don't need to go into multiple definitions, but that's basically it. They have many charts here that we can take a look at. But in the interesting, highly propagandized 2, I would say, famous shootings that have happened recently. That was the Boulder, Colorado shooting, and then the Georgia shootings.
Yeah,
where do they have it on the list here? Yeah, was that the Ackworth, Georgia?
I don't know. Hold on.
That one says 8 killed, 1 injured.
Yeah, that's
Ackworth.
probably it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Where those 2 specific wins, of course, one was a hate crime and immediately was identified as such, basically the same day. The second one, Boulder, Colorado, being a little bit more subtle for the mainstream news because, of course, it was a Muslim guy who was born in Syria. So that became the gun control debate. But yeah, it's I think it goes back to what Biden said in his press conference. It's all about timing.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. It seems like a lot of this, there's a chart in here. Which one was it? The most mass shootings in the U.S. between January 1st and March 22nd of each year. This year has the highest.
Mm-hmm.
And is anybody going to blame Biden for that, or are we going
to? I know the first 3 months of Biden's presidency has the highest mass shootings in January, February, March of the last 4 years. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean,
come on, mainstream news. Come on, CNN.
Well, I guess the idea here is that it makes sense because, we're talking about during Biden's presidency, it seems like gun control is back in the news.
Yeah.
It's a resurfacing thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, of course it's going to be.
Well, and you can see in the same chart, again, last year we were talking about how 2020, you never heard of any mass shootings going on. In fact, you would specifically hear that shootings are down because everybody's locked in. And there was I forget who said it. There was a politician who said this week, oh, now that lockdowns are over, these shootings are going to be on the rise. Well, you look at the chart for May through, all of 2020, May through November were all the highest mass shooting numbers in the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You had 95 mass shootings in June of 2020. What?
Yeah, it doesn't make
Everybody's
any sense.
locked down. Where's this happening?
It doesn't make sense other than they're pushing out the agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
Take away
timing. Now is the timing. The lockdown coronavirus stuff is a lot less scary now. We solved the problem. We got the vaccine. Everybody's fine. Biden's doing a great job. And so now you need a new crisis to keep everybody in fear monger mode. And that's the shootings.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Fall in line, everybody.
We have a couple WACCINE updates and then we'll take a break here.
WACCINE.
This first one is from Bloomberg.com. Merck's little brown pill could transform the fight against COVID. The brown pill, Basil. Have you been brown pilled?
Time to get brown pilled.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Sounds like the fecal transplants.
I was going to say the poop pill. The story of what might become the next major breakthrough in COVID-19 treatment starts at a hotel hallway floor in January 2020, months before you were worried about the virus, weeks before you likely knew it existed. Not us on this show. We knew about it before that. A scientist and a business executive were at the healthcare conference in San Francisco hatching a plan to get a promising drug out of academia and into research trials for regulatory approval. George Painter, president of the Emory Institute for Drug Development, and Wendy Holman, chief executive officer of Ridgeback Biotherapeutics, had met at the Handlery Union Square Hotel to discuss a compound Painter had started developing with funding from the National Institute of Health. Always suspicious when the NIH is involved in this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They got so enthusiastic about the possibilities that their meeting ran long and a group of lawyers kicked them out of their room. So they continued on the hall floor hours after they'd started. They're just so passionate. Painter and Holman weren't talking about targeting COVID at the time. The disease and the coronavirus that causes it, SARS-CoV-2, weren't major concerns at the JP Morgan run conference, where handshakes and cocktail parties with hundreds of guests were still the norm. Rather, Painter was hoping his drug, molnupiravir, could get more funding to speed up flu studies. Holman was eager to see if it worked on Ebola, That's the thing about molnupiravir. I guess it's pyravir. Molnupiravir. Many scientists think it could be a broad-spectrum antiviral effective against a range of threats. A few days later, Holman arrived in Atlanta to see the labs at Emory and pour through the early data. As she and Painter hashed out the terms of a deal in which Ridgeback would buy the drug and start studying its safety and efficacy in people, COVID was sweeping into the public consciousness. By the time Ridgeback announced its acquisition of molnupiravir on March 19th, the world had shut down, and it was clear which threat the drug needed to be tested on right away. Clinical trials for the pill kicked off in April. The next month, Merck & Co., which has a deep history of public health development work, including on HIV and Ebola, struck a deal to buy rights to molnupiravir from Ridgeback and start the types of large-scale trials that could get it authorized by regulators. Those began in the fall. Even as vaccines are rolling out worldwide, the coronavirus and its mutations still pose a major health threat. Not everyone who's eligible for a shot will agree to get one. The hundreds of thousands of people who continue to contract COVID each day have few treatment options. That's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess maybe few, but there's a very effective treatment option that just doesn't get talked about at all. There's no simple, inexpensive pill that can prevent those at the earliest stages of infection from later needing to be hospitalized. Except, remdesivir? Was that the one? Or ivermectin? Maybe it was ivermectin that was working.
Ivermectin is kind of the current one.
Yeah, that's the one that seems to be working. And bamlanivimab is the one, the home version. The monoclonal antibody therapies that doctors now have available for those most at risk of getting severely ill need to be administered by infusions at specialized medical centers. And for those who do become hospitalized, the antiviral remdesivir from Gilead Sciences, Inc. speeds recovery but hasn't been shown to reduce deaths. Oh, so there you go. Is there anything mentioned about ivermectin? Drug makers see an opportunity to add to the arsenal of potential therapies. There are 246 antivirals in development, according to the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, an industry trade group, and companies as big as Pfizer Inc. and as little as Veru Inc. are testing them in pill form. Merck's molnupiravir is among the furthest along. Its developers hope the pill can be prescribed widely to anyone who gets sick. Think Tamiflu for COVID. I think we're going to start hearing that.
Yeah.
Tamiflu for COVID. The hurdle beyond ensuring the drug works is making sure it's safe. Developers of antivirals have been dealing with the thorny issue they pose for decades. Should Merck succeed in demonstrating that molnupiravir is effective and free of serious side effects, it could be a boon in the company and to society for many years to come. Then he gets into the virus and how the thing works and the history of it and all the stuff there. And, maybe I should read this little section here. The first antiviral approved in the U.S. was idoxuridine, a herpes treatment regulators greenlit in 1963, generations after the discovery of antibiotics. It's among a widely used class of drugs called nucleoside and analogs, synthetic versions of nucleosides, critical building blocks of DNA and its counterpart RNA, the messenger molecule that delivers instructions to a cell's protein-making factories. Nucleoside analogs prevent viruses from replicating or from replicating effectively inside cells. Okay, so it is more just details on how it worked here. I don't think we have to necessarily get into any more unless you have...
No, I mean, I just think it's interesting. Of course, in the battle for vaccinations and the vaccine passports and the this and that, it really makes me wonder what's the point of, speaking from the establishment perspective, the push for all the vaccines. And then suddenly, of course, you have the corporations who are pushing to create a treatment, which is, I feel like, especially in the United States, and this will be highlighted by the next story we got coming up here, I think they're realizing that there's going to be a large portion of the United States that is not going to get the vaccine no matter what, unless you, go full Hunger Games and force it on people and, SWAT team into their houses type of thing.
Which actually, not to sorry, I'm cutting into what you're saying here, but it would make sense that they're really pushing the gun control now. There's even more incentive in that sense. Like, hey, we really need to take away their guns because we want to, we want to really step up the jab thing. And the more people have guns, the less likely it is that we'll be able to impose that onto the people. Sure. So it kind of makes sense.
Well, and the interesting thing is these same companies, Pfizer especially, who are creating treatments as well as the vaccine. If you have the vaccine, why do you need a treatment? Yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be a route where the vaccine, you might be able to get away with not getting the vaccine because there's a treatment, which is exactly what people who are not excited, not just about vaccines, but a new experimental vaccine that didn't go through the normal amount of trials and is not approved by the FDA and long-term consequences are unknown. Hey, wait for the treatment. Give me a treatment. There's plenty of treatment options. Why give me an experimental medical device gene therapy, quote unquote, vaccine? So it's very interesting. I'll be very interested to see how the governments or the establishments treat the existence of a treatment versus the vaccine.
Yeah, it says here, talks about Painter. It says Painter dusted off the chemical structure of molnupiravir years ago, prompted by a concern raised by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, a unit of the U.S. Department of Defense. He was looking for a countermeasure against weaponized Venezuelan equine encephalitis, the stuff of Cobra event level nightmares. What is a Cobra level event? Or a Cobra event?
Is that Cobra like from the Ninja Turtles?
I don't know. I was trying to find it. Cobra level event. Maybe somebody in the chat knows what that is. Cobra. Continuation of coverages. Cobra coverage? That sounds more just like a healthcare. I don't know. Cobra and second qualifying.
Sorry, not Ninja Turtles. It's G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, I was going to say. Yeah. Get your stuff straight, Mr. Marvel.
I know. It's been so long.
But yeah, I think overall, I think you're right that there's they're just going to keep funding different treatments. It's truly the product of a sort of problem reaction solution. Provide the problem or introduce the problem, provide the solution.
I'm seeing in the chat here, Cobra is the UK Emergency Cabinet. A UK task force group.
Okay, but why did it make it sound like it was so much more alarming?
I have no idea.
Like, it's the stuff of Cobra level, event level nightmares.
Cobra level. I have no idea. Well, I mean, it is interesting. I would be curious to see the reaction once there's finally a treatment that, any treatment that Trump doesn't advertise is going to be a treatment that's accepted, of course.
Sure.
The past treatments were only snubbed because Trump said they were a good idea. But I'd be curious to see how many people who, got the vaccine. Maybe they didn't, maybe they weren't excited about it. Maybe they just said, I got to get it for my job, or I got to, just get back to normal, get the thing. We'll see. Oh, what? There's a treatment now and I don't need the vaccine? Oh, I acted too quick.
Yeah, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are mad or upset because they had to get the vaccine. This is not a good path we're on here either way.
Yeah. Well, along the same lines, I got this story from the Globe and Mail. theglobeandmail.com. And let's get a little update with Israel. This headline says Tel Aviv goes back to the future. Ooh. What? Okay. Tel Aviv goes back to the future. How COVID-19 passports returned Israelis to a semblance of pandemic life. Of course, Israel has been in the forefront of the passport. What do they call it? The Green Pass. There it goes. A recent Thursday night in Tel Aviv feels like a glimpse into the future and perhaps a reminder of what life was like before the pandemic. A group of 20-something men are sitting at an outdoor table at a bar in Dizengoff Square in central Tel Aviv to celebrate their friends' engagement. In the city on the Mediterranean beach, a nightlife hub where before the pandemic, lines of young people pour out into the streets, drinking from glass beer bottles as they wait for a table outside popular bars and restaurants. Quote, "It gives me goosebumps," reveler Nil Elnir says, yelling above the music. Quote, "It's been like jail, but now we can finally go out." The mind control is strong with this one. Israel's rapid vaccination campaign kicked off in December, and more than 5.1 million of its 9.3 million residents have already received at least one dose. The Green Pass system, launched last month, we're only a month into it, is encouraged.
Sorry, your screen turned green, so you're very transparent if you want to.
We'll give you a little reboot here. Here you go. Here's a little reboot.
People in the chat saying that you disappeared.
I've gone ghost.
Yeah, you're back.
The Green Pass system, launched last month, is encouraging everyone to accept the shot. Green Pass holders who have been fully vaccinated or recovered from the virus can enter gyms, hotels. Interesting how they've included recoveries from COVID in the Green Pass system, which is something that's been overlooked here in the U.S. Yeah. Can enter gyms, hotels, pools, and other indoor facilities. The certificate, which can be downloaded through a phone app, has a barcode that can be scanned at entrances and is valid for 6 months, starting 1 week after the second dose of the vaccine. Now, it's going to go pretty deep into specifically restaurant life here, but there's some key points I want to point out, so bear with us here. For the service industry, the Green Pass is a game changer. Restaurants and bars can resume indoor service with distance between tables, but those without a Green Pass can sit only outdoors. But while the streets of the city are infused with euphoria, get your vaccine, you get infused with euphoria. Bar and restaurant owners say they foresee a long road to full reopening. It's Friday night, and Dror Alterovic, owner of upscale cocktail bar The Imperial, is sitting at an empty booth crunching numbers on his laptop. The bar is closed for the weekend. Quote, "We are short-staffed," he says, explaining he can only open 4 nights a week. During the crisis, the Israeli government started paying 60% to 70% in unemployment benefits for those who lost their jobs. The payments are slated to continue until June, but could be extended. Quote, "At the moment, they've got it made," said Tomer Moore, CEO of the Restaurateurs Stronger Together Association. Quote, "They are living at their parents', getting money from the government, and studying via Zoom, so it's likely they won the lottery for this year. We call it the Israeli government summer camp." A little bit, sounds a little bitter there, Tomer. He's got, this is kind of funny. I mean, it's reflective of a lot of the older generation's feelings. That these kids, they're living at their parents and studying via Zoom, and they get money from the government. So it's like they won the lottery. Okay. Quote, "It's like we are in competition for employment with the government," says Alon Friedman, co-owner of Onza, a popular restaurant in Jaffa's flea market. Mr. Friedman's business partner, Sharon Sapir, is waiting tables herself while she manages the bartenders and trains new staff. Many bar and restaurant owners have resorted to working shifts themselves to keep up with the demand. Okay, I think it's okay to work a shift if you're a restaurant owner. It's not the end of the world.
Oh my gosh, I had to work a shift.
I had to work at my own restaurant while all these lottery-winning young people are staying at home, locked down. The Israeli Restaurateurs Stronger Together Association estimates that 80,000 of the roughly 200,000 employees who worked in the service industry before the crisis were students. According to the association, 80% of those students have not returned to work amid the pandemic. No kidding. They're not allowed to. Anyways, it kind of goes into this thing where it's like blaming lazy students for not working during the pandemic, which is kind of a weird turn for it to take. But while the Tel Aviv municipality had predicted that the pandemic would cause young people to leave the city, the opposite occurred. More young people moved to Tel Aviv, expanding demand for nightlife. But the students are not returning to the arduous jobs that had been supporting them before the pandemic. The city of Tel Aviv is supporting businesses by allowing restaurants to expand their outdoor seating space on sidewalks and streets around the eateries. The municipality has also paused vehicle traffic on some streets so they can be used for outdoor dining, and stopped charging rent to establishments on municipal property. Lior Shapira, chair of Tel Aviv City Council, says municipal offices have been going door to door, asking businesses what else they need to reopen, but he believes the worker shortage is the major issue and won't be solved until after the coming national elections. Restaurant owners who decide to reopen say that in many ways it's like starting from scratch, and new guidelines such as spacing between tables make it hard for them to earn enough revenue. About 20% of Israeli restaurants closed during the crisis and won't reopen, according to Uriel Lin, president of the Israeli Chamber of Commerce. Quote, "For them, the crisis was very difficult," Mr. Lin says, explaining that many businesses also underwent structural changes, eliminating certain positions that also may never return. Tomer Moore, CEO of the Restaurants Association, estimates it will take 3 to 5 years for the industry to recover completely. So there you go. We've got a mix of things here. You've got the green pass that is apparently getting everybody back out into the streets and enjoying nightlife. And yet the government unemployment payments is making it difficult for these restaurants and bars to hire people. And I think it's it's just a weird, funny dichotomy that comes from the complications of the pandemic. You know, you got to pay people because you're forcing them not to work. And now that you're slowly starting to open things up, they don't want to work because they're getting paid. I don't know if I would call it winning the lottery, but you know, it's part of now Israel did have much more intense lockdowns than the U.S. Did. You know, as much as United States, as much as we disliked our lockdowns, many other countries had significantly worse lockdowns than us. But have you heard of any similar problems? I mean, the problem is Israel has such a much lower population as well.
Yeah, it's under 10 million. So it's like a fourth of California.
Yeah, smaller than LA.
Yeah.
The whole country is.
Yeah, it's always interesting because a lot of this kind of stuff is going to be used as some kind of proof for larger scale use to scale up basically this type of thing. And, you know, at least this article points out some of the issues. But, you know, in reality, I've already seen articles, not this one, but other articles talk about how, look at how I think I even got into a brief back and forth with somebody on Twitter, which, surprise, surprise, is some left-leaning Christian who basically said, all the Asian countries, look how strict their lockdowns were and look how fast they've been able to reopen. Right. And I pointed out that, like, well, yeah, but every nation that they pointed out, which was like South Korea, Japan, Thailand, they're islands. Like, of course, if you're going to lock down an island, you're not going to get, you know, so anyway.
Very small populations.
Much smaller populations. But, you know, that's kind of the mistake here with a lot of this is if it works for a small region, then it must work for the world. Yeah. And it just doesn't, that's not the case. Number one, there's no proof of that. But also, you know, kind of not good that they're rolling stuff out like the green passport thing here. And I guess it's working sort of, but they're still, you know, they're not going to let go of the control. But, you know, ultimately this is this was a worldwide social disruption project. And to that end, it has worked beautifully. And bravo to the world controllers for pulling this one off, because, at first I was thinking, when I say first, I mean in the last year, for the first few months, I was like, I still feel like 9/11 was a bigger sort of psyop, but now I'm like, no, this is way bigger. This one's so much bigger in terms of scale, in terms of impact.
Totally.
It's just ridiculous. And the lies were so in your face for anybody that wanted to do 2 seconds of digging that, this one's much, much larger in terms of a psyop.
Yeah. And the policing of the people by the people was much more effective.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we got TSA out of 9/11, but who knows what's going to come out of this?
The Jim Eagle clan.
Jim Eagle is on the loose.
They're on the loose. Don't get caught up.
And with that, Gons, I think we should take a break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're just going to take a quick breather, catch our breath here, and thank some producers. But before that, let's see here. Stick around, because after the break, we're going to be checking in with QAnon, also TikTok.
WitchTok, not TikTok.
She'd be practicing the witchcraft over on TikTok. And then, of course, we got to catch up with what's going on over at CERN. That's a very interesting update. And then, of course, cyborgs and surveillance, things like that. So lots of good stuff after the break. So make sure to stick around. But first, we want to thank some of our producers. That's right. I said producers. That's because we are on the value for value model. It's a wonderful model that encourages dear listeners to take responsibility for your own media future instead of letting big daddy corporations to spoon feed you whatever they want you to hear. That's right. You might notice there's no ad reads, no affiliate codes, no corporate money whatsoever, because every corporate sponsorship is a form of censorship. We'd figured out long ago that being brand friendly and taking suggestions from corporate advertisers just was not going to be in the cards for us. And so we take zero corporate money. That's from YouTube. That's from nothing. And so the fact of the matter is that this show is only able to continue because listeners just like you decide that they get value out of what we do here 3 times a week. And they make the choice to take responsibility for their own lives and become producers, because that's the way it works. The show only exists because of the hard work and the generosity of its producers, and that could be you. And so we want to thank those producers. And when I say producers, this is not some cutesy thing. This is the real deal. You can put this on your resume, put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your Twitter bio, whatever it is. Give them our email address and we will vouch for you. And it's a way to not just keep the show going, but for your own life to rebel against the global theology of advertising. You know, we had Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, in the mid-20th century, the godfather of advertising, talk about how advertising really is a form of mind control and that the average man needs some elite advertiser to tell them how to think or how to view the world. And of course, if you're aware of the Hegelian dialectic, that is what advertising is all based on. Create a problem and then sell the solution to that problem through advertising. So if you have a problem with mind control, if you have a problem with elites thinking that they can control your worldview and monetize your attention, anything like that, becoming a producer of the show is an excellent opportunity to give out a rebel yell against that system. And we're going to thank some of those producers right now. The first and easiest way to become a producer of the show is to head on over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And Gons, you got the gong ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we've got one new Patreon producer, and that is new producer Matt L.
Maddle.
Thank you very much, producer Maddle. And there you go. That's our one Patreon producer for this episode. But here's the thing, folks. If you don't like Patreon, that's okay. If you want to have a little bit more of a direct relationship, you can go ahead and head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. There's all sorts of fun ways to become a producer over there. You can read about the value for value model, the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. But most importantly, you can come in as a monthly producer. We thank all of our monthly producers for helping lay down a firm foundation for the show. Or if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and produce the show in any amount for a one-time dealio. There's also cryptocurrency, all sorts of fun stuff. But Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
The people coming in on today's dealio is might help us with their treasure, their time, talent, and maybe toilet paper. I'm seeing the story here from the New York Post. Suez Canal ship crisis may unleash worldwide toilet paper shortage.
Oh, great.
Again.
Not again.
Just one.
That's how they control
ship.
you, folks.
Yeah. All right. So to thank our PayPal producers here, the first one, Malik.
Producer Malik, thank you so much.
He's back. Thank you, producer Malik. And the next one is an anonymous supporter here. Anonymous,
Okay.
thank you. Anonymous. Anonymous, and we got a note. I work for Honeywell, and we've been partially down this week. We got hacked globally, or at least a cyber attack. I'm not sure why there's no articles relating to this. Interesting.
Huh.
So there you
Okay.
go.
The hacks continue.
They continue, but you know, hey, we're trying to get rid of your guns. So it's not talking about cyber. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
no, hacks, major cyber attacks are so passé.
yeah, we're trying to do the gun thing right now. Okay, so thank you for that, Anon. Next up, we have producer Saul A.
Thank you very much, producer Saul.
Pocket full of sevens.
Thank you.
Next, producer Brian D.
Thank you very much, producer Brian D.
Next, one of our, I guess, our only Illuminati handler for the day, Gail M.
Oh, thank you very much, Illuminati handler Gail M. coming in with the 33 producership.
Next up, we have producer Shield Labs.
Thank you very much, producer Shield Labs.
And they have a note here. Is there a place to order a physical copy of the Age of Deceit videos? P.S. to fellow producer Ciara. Make the Missouri 9/11 meetup in Kansas City. Ooh, demands. Demands from Shield Lab.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know what city that is in, but there you go. Producer Ciara, we have a request for Kansas City, Missouri.
And in terms of the physical copies of Age of Deceit, there used to be them on Amazon, at least the first two Age of Deceit films.
Yeah, did you ever have a physical stockpile of those?
I did at one point. It's been a while since I printed any, but I've been doing the USB thing. So if you go to facelikethessun.net/USB, you can get a USB drive with all the film on it. And I think there's more stuff on there. But yeah, I haven't done the physical DVDs. It's just, you know, I'm looking into the future.
That's so 2000 late.
2000 late, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you, producer Shield Labs. Next up, we have producer Michelle E.
Thank you very much, producer Michelle E.
Yeah, turned into a song. And she says, thanks for making us laugh out loud 3 days a week. Always a refreshing news outlet, and we appreciate you guys. Blessings, Brian and Michelle. All right, producer Brian.
Thank you very much,
Michelle.
Brian and Michelle. Appreciate that.
Thank you. And that does it for the PayPal producers for today's show. Again, we thank you for your treasure. You can also support the show with your time and talent. And especially in terms of time, We've been working on the timestamps. Thank you, Jade Bouncerson. And there was one more person. Sorry, I got to pull up the notes here to remember who that other individual was. Oh boy. Stall. Filibuster.
Well,
Christine, Producer Christine. Thank you, Producer
Thank
Christine.
you very much, Producer Christine.
And we're still trying to work out some rhythm there, so we'll keep that going.
Great.
And yeah, we're going to work on putting the timestamps in the MP3 file. It's a whole new ball game for podcasting.
Chapters, baby.
Podcasting 2.0 and having chapters. That'll be great for the show, especially a show like ours. I mean, really, it's made for a show like ours where we go through so many different stories and whatnot. So look forward to that. And we want to encourage you guys to produce the show with your talent. And that means jingles. That means artwork. And today we have a couple jingles to share with you. One of them we played already, Basil. The other one I haven't even played yet. So this is we're going to get some fresh reactions on this other one here. But the first jingle, well, I got to move it in here. Oh, it was done by producer Haley and her husband. And let me, there was a note here. I don't know how much of the note that I can read. Where did it go? Okay, here it is. Big fans of the show. I know you already have a Biden jingle, hairy legs, and it is hysterical. If you ever want to mix it up, we have attached another possible Biden jingle. My husband made this for you. He doesn't listen to the show yet. Right?
Wow, he made a jingle and doesn't listen to the show. This will be interesting.
But he knows how much I love you guys. It was a joint effort with him doing the sampling and mixing. I just gave ideas. He's the real hero here. We got the idea from watching compilations of 80s commercials. That's a really good way for couples to spend time together. Just go back and watch. I've done it with my wife. I'm telling you, it's a good nostalgic thing to do. Yeah. There are tons on YouTube. It's fun to step back to a supposedly simpler time when corporations seemed trustworthy. They were not, but they seemed more trustworthy. They were better concealed. Even cookies and ice cream were healthy as long as the packaging said low fat. And the only clear and present danger was the Soviets. It all makes for some interesting analysis. Yeah, it all makes for some interesting analysis of our society. The first part of the jingle is from an 80s Juicy Fruit commercial. The rest is President Biden just being himself. Please enjoy, and thanks for all you do. Keep rattling cages. Thank you, Producer Haley and her husband. Here it is. Take a sniff.
Take a sniff.
I can smell ice cream. Okay, I'm Joe Biden. I'm big on ice cream.
What the heck? He's such a weird dude. Take a sniff.
I like the kids rub my hairy legs and then I sniff ice cream.
Yeah, that's what a weird guy. That's
very
funny.
Well done,
thank you very much, producer Haley and husband.
Yes, so thank you for that. We might use that. We'll switch it up when it comes to
play it again just for fun.
Take a sniff.
I can smell ice cream. Okay, I'm Joe Biden. I'm big on ice cream.
I wonder what he was.
What is that from? That's so
what I want to
weird.
know. Was he at a ice cream shop opening or a?
Yeah, I wonder if they edited that or if that's something he actually said.
I think it's edited, but I think he had to say I'm big on ice cream. That doesn't sound edited, but maybe it's a really good edit job. You never know.
If we needed a short one, even just the take a sniff, is great.
I can smell ice cream.
Yeah, I can smell ice cream. Oh, that's good.
What's ice cream on the Pizzagate list?
I know it's something. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have one from producer Sergey. And this is the jingle for Basil's Swollenness. And again, we have not heard this one yet. We're hearing this for the first time.
Okay. Let's hear
I hope it's family friendly.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You want to check my shape line? Let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do.
Oh, it's the Joe Biden challenging somebody.
I didn't hear this. When did this happen? There's a piece of art related to this too. Do you know when this happened? Was this at the press conference or something?
No, I don't think it was a press conference. It was recent, but yeah, I think he had a confrontation. It must have been during the campaign or maybe sometime last year. But I do remember it. He was up there, and some reporter said something, and he was doing the whole, hey, come on, let's well, you heard it.
Think you're better than me?
Let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do.
He does sound more alert, so maybe it was a while ago. I don't know.
Got that defensive thing. What is he trying to prove?
Come on, man. Let's just arm wrestle. What do you want to do? Let's do it. Let's do it now.
Can you hear this cat screaming in the background?
No.
Okay, if you haven't heard it now, you're not going to hear it. He's yelling. There's a cat angry around here. Well, thank you very much, producer Sergey. I would say not quite officially a jingle, but definitely a great clip.
Great ISO.
Good ISO. We got to put a beat behind it or something to turn it into a jingle, but it's a classic.
Push-ups. All right. And of course, we have some art to share with y'all.
One art, please.
And this first one is from producer Allie. I mean, she just brought together, speaking of swole Biden, I mean, I love how there's always a theme that our producers just sniff it out. You know, they just know.
They pick up on it.
I'm going to say it's a Holy Spirit thing, that they just know there's a vibe. They pick up on it. Producer Allie coming in with GQ Joe. It's Allie's take on GQ creepy Uncle Joe with a nose mask for safety.
For safety. Yeah, for those who are just listening, this is a wonderful sketch here by producer Allie of Joe Biden with his nose mask on his tongue mask. And he's squatting. He's doing some squats. He's what has he got? He's got about, I think he's doing 135 there. Looks like the bar with a couple of 45s. Yeah, so he's getting his squat on. And never thought I'd see a picture of Joe Biden just pumping iron so hard.
Well, he was a fit man.
What do you want? What do you want to do? Some squats? Load up the rack, bro. Let's go.
That would be funny. Like, yeah, you want to go? Let's do some squats. Of course, it would be something he would say too. You know?
Yeah, he does have some buff legs here, though. I think he could squat more than 135.
We'll see.
We'll see.
He did get bitten. Didn't he get bitten by a dog or something? He twisted his ankle?
No. That was two separate incidences. His dog bit a Secret Service agent, but he claimed he had his broken foot. I think
chasing after a dog after a shower or something like that.
Yes, he was chasing the dog. The dog slipped on a rug, and he tripped on the rug that the dog had sort of bunched up, or at least that's the official story.
Okay.
Don't know how you break your foot tripping on a rug, but okay, whatever you say.
All right. Okay, Joe. It is what it is, Joe. Okay. Okay. And let's, so thank you for that, Allie. This is fantastic. It's always great to see Allie's artwork here.
Yes. Thank you very much, producer Allie.
Next up, producer Quantum Solace. And this is a whole cartoon strip epic.
Yeah. So is this all one thing?
Kind of. I think it flows from top to bottom, left to right.
I thought though. Okay. All right. So the wrestling one is the same as the rest?
It is. It ties back to the wrestling thing. It's supposed to be rehearsal, right. But go on.
Got it. Okay. This was, so this is done in sort of a comic book, comic strip style with screen grabs of us doing the show for most of it. But up at the top, there's Gons, who looks to be a professional wrestler. And I think you're wrestling John Cena. You've got John Cena in some sort of pin. And you're saying, all right, Basil, finishing move time. Let's go. And then it's a wide shot of the entire arena. And way up on the ceiling is me jumping from the ceiling, giving a nice scream there. And you're saying, oh no, Basil, too high. I don't know. I think I'm ready to drop in some bombs in the ring there. And then it switches down to some screen grabs from the show. And of course, Gons, you're there looking normal. We're reading in a story called Injecting Men with the Female Hormone Progesterone Could Reduce the Severity of the COVID-19 Study Claims. But there's something weird going on with me down there on the left. I've got a very aggressive looking robot arm coming up next to my microphone there. My googly eyes have turned blood red. And I say, and that, dear listener, is how I became part cyborg, and I can turn the TV on by blinking twice and have an inbuilt laser pointer for my kitties. And you say, yeah, 322 bone fractures. Oh, 322 bone fractures will do that to you. Oh, I see. So I broke 322
bones when you came down.
I
the
broke
finishing
more
move on
bones.
John Cena, and that's how you
Got it.
became a cyborg. Continue.
I broke more bones than exist in the human body. Something's up here. In the next panel, you say, you could have just jumped off the ropes like we rehearsed. And I say, great. You said the word rehearse. Now everybody knows wrestling is fake. Thanks a lot, Gonzo. Oh, and for those of you wondering if that guy died, no, he moved last second, just like a coward. You say, yeah, what a joke for not letting a grown adult land on him from 10 stories high. And then there's an awkward silence between us here. Anyway, there are other ways you can support the show. One of those ways is with your time, talent, and treasure. And then Gons plays the One Art Please jingle.
I look so defeated, or just it's funny how he uses our facial expressions to at least mine, not so much yours. Yours is enhanced.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, producer Quantum of Solace. James Bond fan.
Yeah.
Quantum of Solace was a James Bond movie, right?
Right. I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, next up, producer Mr. Magoo.
Oh, crowd favorite here. Thank you very much, Mr. Magoo. And he's, again, just about on par with your 4-year-old daughter. Has made us a little list here. It says Magoo's list. Oh, top 3 podcasts. Number 1 is Canary Cry News Talk. Number 2, Canary Cry Radio. And number 3, Mr. Snood's super awesome podcast about roly-poly potato bugs. And there you go, folks. Check them out on iTunes and wherever you get your podcasts. So that's good.
Roly-poly. He's a drawing of a little roly-poly with the little speech bubble that you can't... Oh, he says hi. In the
says
speech
hi.
bubble.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've yet to listen to the world's premier roly-poly potato bug podcast, but Mr. Magoo says we got to check it out. So, okay.
Yep. And last but not least, we have a piece of Photoshop from Ebony Blaze. And this is Nancy Pelosi with a spiral purple and white birthday cap on. And it says, Guten Tag told me today is Nancy Pelosi's birthday. So I just made this up real quick to celebrate.
Okay. Happy birthday, Nancy Pelosi.
Happy birthday,
Is
Nancy.
that her on the sauce? That pronunciation of Nancy?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How old is that woman?
I don't know, but I don't think this picture is recent. I'll tell you that.
I was gonna say this looks like
2004
a few years ago. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you to all of our artists. We appreciate that very much. And of course, thanks to our producers. But before we end the break here, Gons, it's Friday, so you know what that means.
It's a time for a review.
That's right. I want to read a couple of reviews here. It's always fun to hear what people got to say about the show. And of course, if you have not left a rating and a review yet on Apple Podcasts, please do, because it goes a long way to teaching the algorithms that they need to share the show with people who have never heard it before. So we'd like to thank these 3 people, just 3 reviews today.
Ooh, I like it.
For leaving the reviews and doing their part to rattle some cages. This first one is from Subtle Kane, 5 stars, and it says here, rattling cages and breaking chains. Loyal listener for over a year now. Intelligence, solid research, and unabashed Christ followers. Thanks for keeping me sane through 2020. Quote, this is the way.
Ooh, I don't have my This Is the Way jingle ready, but I have it here now.
This is the way.
Yes. Next, we have 5 stars from Joe in MA. Says, great podcast. Been a listener of this podcast since inception and Face Like the Sun YouTube for 5 years now. Very informative on the issues facing Christians and non-Christians alike. They also keep things light with some comedy / laughs in the mix as well. You'll benefit from listening to this show. 5 out of 5. Basil and Gons, keep up the good work. God bless. Well, thank you very much, Joe and MA.
Appreciate that.
I like the very straightforward nature. You'll benefit from listening to this show.
It's
just
true.
Straightforward. There is a benefit to be had.
It's true.
Thank you very much, Joe. Next, 5-star review from Leo Lefart.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
And Leo Lefart says, longtime listeners, first time commenter. I've always loved these dudes. They would go weeks before posting new shows. Now it's like 2 or 3 a week. Love it. That's right. And thank you. And you're welcome, Leo Lefart. Interesting. All 3 of these reviews were from longtime listeners. That just shows you there's people who've been listening out there for a long time and still haven't left ratings and reviews. So I give these guys an extra high 5 for taking the time to do that.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate all the reviews. It's very nice. And it does help the
algorithms. Yes, that's right. So even if you're out there, you've been listening for a while and never left a rating and review, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review. It helps out a lot, especially if you've been listening for a long time. Or if you're new, or if you're just a human and have hair, or maybe you don't have hair. It's all good. Everybody should leave reviews. Okay. I think that's it, Gons. I think it's time to wake up. Anything else? Do we need to, we should talk about meetups.
Oh, yeah, we should.
You got that ready?
I don't, but I'll grab it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody out there, we've, producer Ciara is going on a national tour of Canary crime meetups. And that's something anybody out there can do. If you want to meet other Canarians in your area, I guarantee that there are Canarians around you and you guys should meet up, especially now that lockdowns are releasing, mask mandates are being lifted, all these things. It's a great time to meet other Canarians. And let's see, for producer Ciara putting on these Canary crime meetups, we have, Guns has scrolled all the way to the bottom.
I did that because of the email addresses down there.
Oh,
very small, kind of hard to see, but it's
got
there.
it. Yeah. So email Ciara, Ciara, Lauren, Lauren 93 at gmail.com. If you want to make it to any of these, I'll say that again later. But let's see. What are the dates we're working with here, Gons? The first one is going to be in the Pacific Northwest next month on 4. I have a lagged version of what we're looking at here. April 24th through 25th. There you go. Pacific Northwest. I don't know exactly where it is, but I think it's strategic that we're not putting out the exact locations on the show. But go ahead and email producer Ciara at CiaraLauren 93 at gmail.com. Pacific Northwest is April 24th through 25th. Florida, May 22nd, Southern California, June 26th, and Missouri on 9/11. So there you go. That's yes, show up to those. You know, it's fun. Yeah, I don't know if she's got something like this planned for every meetup, but you know, the Dallas meetup, they went to the grassy knoll. There's a bunch of Canarians meeting at the grassy knoll.
Yeah.
This looked pretty fun. It was cool. So there you go. Missouri. What's in Missouri? I don't know where. See, the problem is I don't know where they're meeting in Missouri, but go meet up. And you know what? If you can't make it to any of these, put on your own meetup. I don't know. Maybe you should talk to producer producer Ciara. Maybe if you want some advice on how to do it. Oh yeah, you've got the screenshot there from not a screenshot, a photo from from the Dallas meetup. There, you've got a bunch of googly eyes, all these jokesters, these pranksters making the all-seeing eye triangle with the googly eyes. Oh, you guys are going to get us in trouble. But yeah, if you're out there, put on a meetup. You can head over to canarycry.community. There's a meetup thread there. A good way to find some people to meet up with. And there you go. Again, email ciaralauren93@gmail.com. All right. That's all I got.
I want to say, based on our last conversation here,
Mhm.
Boston is New England's largest city.
Okay. Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there.
Sure.
You got all mad at me when you said New England. I said Boston.
And I said, you don't know where New England was. And I said, name the states in New England. And you said, Boston.
Oh, you asked what states?
Yeah, of course.
I thought you just said, where's New England?
No, well, that's the thing. New England is a collection of states.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, let's move on. I have a cat attacking me here.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Cat? That was go away and cat.
He's looking very confused.
Yep.
Okay, let's see here. Let's wake on up. Let's check in with the what?
Yeah, the QAnon.
Cue the
Q
miserable,
QAnon.
cue the desperate. What must I do to convince you people? You're right, Q.
And this is sentinelsource.com, the home of the Keene Sentinel.
Yeah, and Keene is that place where the Bitcoin church was located before they got busted.
Right. And
it's
the headline,
a group of 50,000 libertarians over there in Keene.
Mm-hmm. And the headline is QAnon now pushes alarming conspiracy myths targeting China and Jews.
Uh-oh.
Apparently this was originally published.
Targeting.
Targeting, yeah.
Targeting. Okay.
It was originally published in the Los Angeles Times, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick here. It's not that long of an article here, but it says experts on extremism. Hold on, I'm going to make the letters bigger here. I'm turning into Joe Biden here.
Old man, take a look at my life.
Experts on extremism are warning about a troubling shift to the right-wing QAnon movement toward a new vein of conspiracy that blends anti-Chinese and anti-Jewish tropes with fears of vaccines in a global plot to take over the world.
Sounds like somebody who just learned about conspiracy theories.
I was going to say, they just haven't done their research until... they're guilty of the same thing QAnoners were guilty of, where they're like, there's a cabal of pedophiles controlling society.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yes, we've known about that. But anyway, broadly collected under the idea of a new world order. It's a QAnon rebranding, said researcher Joel Finkelstein.
Sure.
Or is it Finkelstein? Director of Rutgers University's Network Contagion Research Institute, allowing conspiracy theorists to pivot after a year of political upheaval, scrutiny, and disappointing predictions. It makes a shift from the wild lies the movement spread before the election and in subsequent efforts to keep former President Donald Trump in office, even after he lost to Joe Biden. Finkelstein and others said the switch and the emphasis on suspicion towards Asians and Jews could lead to more violence.
What is the switch? I'm wondering what the switch is, because of course we know, I mean, the QAnon, and it's not just QAnon people, it's just narrative skeptic people, but sure, we'll include QAnon people in this. Of course, saying that the coronavirus originated in Wuhan is the anti-Asian conspiracy theory.
We'll get into that. I think before
mentioning anything about the Rothschilds makes you an anti-Semite. But what's the switch? Because those have always
I'm trying
been
to
things.
Explain it to you, bro.
I know, but I'm also doing a podcast and setting a stage for you to explain it to the audience.
Okay, so before it was Hillary Clinton and Democrats are pedophiles that traffic children and drink their blood. underneath a pizza shop. That was the old narrative from the mainstream.
Yeah, the
Now
false Pizzagate explanation.
Right, and now they're switching that to Asians and Jews are bad. Okay, quote, "That is what I worry about," says Cynthia Miller Idris, a professor at American University in Washington, D.C., who runs the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab. Okay. Quote, "Individuals who are either unstable or have been really radicalized during a long pandemic." Aren't you being polarizing yourself by saying this kind of stuff? And as a head of or a professor that runs the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab? Anyway, there are a lot of problems there. At the start of the virus shutdowns, said Finkelstein, much of the racially charged conspiracy dialogue centered around the virus originating in China and included disgust towards Asians, with leaders, including Trump, insisting on labeling it as the Kung flu or Chinese flu. Again, Chinese flu. There's nothing racist about calling it Chinese flu.
The word Chinese being a racial slur.
Yeah, right. Chinese. Oh, you're Chinese. I'm offended. Kung flu. All right. Yeah, you can say it's offensive, but that's kind of clever, I would say. Not very offensive to me anyway. But I'm not Chinese. Since the election, the anti-Asian sentiment has shifted to anxiety about worldwide dominance. Specifically, a communist overthrow of governments backed by Jewish people who control wealth. President Biden is seen as a pawn of these elites.
There's not a shift.
Yeah, no shift.
There's
Quote,
no shifting
"The
here.
latest round seems to be motivated by the political dominance stuff," Finkelstein said. Very scientific. The political dominance stuff. Quote, "There is a huge component of this that China is taking over," which they are, logistically
which
speaking.
Members of Biden's cabinet have stated.
You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see that. More broadly, extremists, specialists say QAnon is seeking to maintain relevance by swallowing other conspiracy movements. They're swallowing it up. Quote, "They are unifying under a giant umbrella of a common enemy. Sometimes it's the Jews, occasionally it's the Asians, usually it's the government," Finkelstein said. Quote, "What is happening is they are fishing for different issues to cause violence with."
Cause violence. That's their main goal.
And isn't this person part of the government? Anyway, this kind of thing really just is annoying. I was getting triggered reading this thing. Triggered.
I couldn't tell.
Following the November election, Finkelstein, Miller, Idris, and other extremism trackers noticed a shift in memes and words used by conspiracy peddlers. They appeared to be seizing upon a decades-old fear that tumultuous events in people's lives, such as the pandemic and its subsequent lockdowns, are part of a master plan to subjugate the masses and replace legal norms with the totalitarian rule of a select few. Those who study extremism.
Sounds crazy.
This sounds insane. Yeah. Those who study extremism said the transition by QAnon story peddlers is expected, but also signals that lies, racism, and propaganda in American politics will continue to have staying power. It is a, quote, "large tent of distrust of government and authority that allows for, quote, a variety of followers who oftentimes have general fears and grievances, but not necessarily more specific types of commonalities," said Brian Levin, professor of criminal justice and director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at Cal State San Bernardino. Quote, "It really creates an attractive opportunity for extremists to ensconce themselves into divisive, emotionally charged issues where they can focus on the grievances and the villain and not necessarily their own baggage," Levin said. Quote, "QAnon is like a newt's tail. It can constantly reconstitute itself."
Maybe the Illuminati was inside us the whole time.
Takes one to know one, Levin. The QAnon reboot is, quote, "new words for old terms that have existed for quite a long time," said Jason Blazakis, professor at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies and director of its Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism. Globalist paranoia dates back to the 1960s and is built upon anti-Semitic ideas that go back centuries. The web of conspiracies gained popularity in the 1990s after then President George H.W. Bush used... where is it? Here it is.
A new world order.
In a speech about the fall of Soviet communism, feeling anxiety about government overreach, a loss of liberty and gun rights. Where once conspiracy theorists looked to Russia as the enemy, they were suddenly left without a malefactor. They filled that void with the evil global cabal, Levin said. Levin, come on, dude. Come on, man.
I mean, it's way older than the 1990s.
I know.
You're saying this whole globalism thing started in the 1990s?
Yeah, I'm going to skip this one paragraph here. It says, Levin said conspiratorial politics are growing not just at the national level, but in state and local issues as well. Finkelstein's group recently found that Southern California is, quote, the hottest of hotspots when it comes to such conspiracies. That's right.
Southern California.
Raise the roof, OC. I'm leading the charge quietly. In late January, when protesters shut down the vaccine site at Dodger Stadium there was 10 people that stood in front of cars. His research team tracked a surge in online New World Order activity. That doesn't sound right.
Tracked a surge in New World Order activity?
Including posts tagged with, quote, hashtag Great Reset, hashtag Scandemic, and hashtag Agenda 21.
Oh, your research is incredible.
A theory.
You went to Twitter and searched hashtags.
A theory based on a 1990s United Nations resolution that some consider proof of a plot to depopulate the Earth. Okay. The reasons why some Southern Californians have latched onto New World Order rhetoric are complex. Finkelstein's organization found a correlation between places with high incidence of both Black Lives Matter activity and what he terms as pushback against it in the form of anti-mask, anti-lockdown rallies, a mix that fed New World Order activity online. Los Angeles County had the greatest abundance of both types of protests, followed by San Diego and Orange counties.
You know, it's so funny. He refers to New World Order activity online. He is referring to conspiracy theorists talking about New World Order activity.
Yeah, but it makes it sound like
when tracking New World Order activity online sounds like our job description.
We are the New World Order.
No, I mean, we track New World Order activity online.
Quote,
that's what we do.
Where the Black Lives Matter protesters showed up, the quarantine became sort of a counter cause, he said. Quote, this idea that we are the ones being victimized. Aside from the Capitol insurrection in January, QAnon believers have been implicated in more than a dozen acts of violence across the United States, and hate crimes against Asian Americans have surged. As virus restrictions ease, the pent-up vitriol of online politics will likely spill elsewhere. Quote, it's not just a prospect, said Miller Idris. It's a reality.
I would love, he says, more than a dozen acts of violence across the United States being attributed to QAnon believers. What's the number of violent acts connected with Black Lives Matter protesters? Is it, no? Maybe more than a dozen, maybe? No, okay.
Don't talk about that. Build back brother, bro.
And then they mentioned the Asian American violence.
Yeah, there was
Have you
nothing
looked at
in
the
here.
actual numbers on that?
Yeah, no, it's all a big lie. It's
the numbers
whole
on that are
50%
insane.
raise. It's just complete nonsense.
Yeah, the numbers I saw. I think this was over 2020 or it was 2020. There's 3,400 accounts of anti-Asian violence. 400 of the 3,500 was physical violence. So 400 something was actual physical violence. So that means 3,100 was non-physical violence, which is not cool. You know, it's calling names. And
it was like 400 or so was physical violence.
400, and that's also not cool. Not great. That should be zero, of course. But I believe it was 24% of that 400 was committed by white people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even need to go into the other numbers. 76% of that violence was not perpetrated by white people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just saying that's the thing.
And we're not defending QAnon here. Clearly, we've shared our thoughts about that here, but it's interesting how a lot of these mainstream outlets, they are connecting the QAnon thing to the reason why Asian violence has risen. And the only evidence they have is Trump saying Kung flu or Chinese flu. They never say anything else. No Q posts, nothing. It's all just Trump said it. So that's why QAnon people, dangerous. Asians, watch out for the Q.
Yeah.
They're coming to get you. But also, I think this is all part of the big PSYOP setup. What does it say here? Hate crimes against Asian Americans have surged. As virus restrictions ease, the pent-up vitriol of online politics will likely spill elsewhere. It's almost like justifying violence. They're like, well, we're going to see a lot more violence here now that we've had all this online politics vitriol pent up in our youth.
Well, which is interesting because they're making this assumption that, you know, any idiot can say anything online.
Ooh,
and it's mostly anonymous. What?
Nothing going.
No, any idiot can say anything. I'm just not pointing out any particular idiots. Idiots of all kinds can say anything they want online. It doesn't matter what side of anything you're on. Any idiot can say anything.
Yeah.
And this guy is just assuming like, oh, there's all these idiots saying idiotic things. So that means these same idiots have turned into violent extremists and are going to rampage through the streets like it's the purge.
Yeah,
it's just assumptive nonsense.
It is nonsense, but again, I think this is part of unleashing the instigators to go out into the street and start violence.
Yeah. Well, that's the
they already
thing.
They already have someone to blame.
Yeah,
they have the proto persona to blame for all the violence. And so, yeah, now they can pull off violence, and they're already setting up who to blame. So kind of like the whole terrorist thing, terrorist. And 9/11 happens. Oh, who's responsible? Oh, the terrorists. They got us.
Right.
We've been warning about the terrorists for years.
They got us.
They actually got us.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Well, speaking of idiots posting things online, let's talk about TikTok.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
That's right. This is coming from the AmericanReporter.com. The headline, Celebrity Witch Club, a TikTok phenomenon, or how I got obsessed with witchcraft. Unless you live under a rock in a village far, far away with no access to the internet, you are on Instagram and most likely on TikTok.
Not on either.
No way, Jose.
I don't live under a rock either. Already an inaccurate statement by.
I know. It's already oppressive if you're not participating. She is oppressing an Asian American right now. Oh. Put this on the Asian American violence list.
Yeah, we better report this Jennifer Ross lady. She's really
already done. I sent it to the Attorney General.
Canceled. Go ahead.
If you are, then you would have noticed a pandemic of WitchTok accounts. A pandemic of WitchTok accounts. What is a WitchTok? It's an account or accounts that talk about witchcraft and all things magic. This sounds ridiculous, you say. Well, yes. Or that's what I thought once I started scrolling through thousands of accounts full of crazy and at times irresponsible content claiming to be able to change one's life. I then noticed a pattern that most of these accounts belong to children, all aged between 9 and 14.
Yikes.
And almost never older.
Ugh.
I mean, here we are in 2021, and all of a sudden we are supposed to believe that this generation is full of hereditary witches? I don't think so. This is funny. It's a kids. I mean, of course, witchcraft is in many cases not something to be joked about, but 9 through 14-year-olds claiming that they're hereditary witches. A lot of this is LARPing,
Yeah.
Kids stuck at home, nothing much to do, but they have their social media and they can get some attention by saying that they're a hereditary witch. And to be honest, it's hilarious how many adults follow these kids that shoot their content from their parents' basement in Massachusetts and follow it. Where's the logic? Where's the brain? There is another type of witchcraft-related accounts that are made by adults who are obviously not accomplished in life, judging by the way they live and their surroundings, or even by the way they look. Wow,
judgy.
So mean to the witches, the TikTok witches. I mean, are they serious when they sell money spells to people but live in conditions that are worse than a state prison? That sounds like hyperbole, Jennifer. Anyways, or are they selling beauty-related spells when they clearly should be using them first? Strange. Whoa. Body shaming these witches. One night when I could not fall asleep, I saw a video that gave me goosebumps. It was talking about witchcraft in a manner that was not a normality on TikTok. It was by someone named @CelebrityWitch. Cool. The tone of the account was brutal, honest, and definitely anti the woke culture that gets offended by everything. I was intrigued. The account was modern, glamorous, and relatable. All caps, relatable. I then did my research about the creator, and the creature, and found out via a few journalistic sources, vague term, it was actually a very well-known figure in the entertainment and celeb world from LA behind the account. I was so intrigued by the power and energy that was coming from the content. @CelebrityWitch has a celebrity witch club. And of course, I had to join. It became my favorite read. I would go to bed reading it, and I would start my day by reading it. The Celebrity Witch Club is full of witchcraft-related theory, rituals, and teaches people the real old-fashioned witchcraft that hundreds of the club members swear by. And there are numerous reviews that prove the real ones. Oh, prove that. Quote, parenthetical, real ones. I checked one by one. Okay, sure you did. I am so obsessed and amazed by the club. I had to share it with you on this platform. I mean, if I want to learn magic, I will learn it from someone who has actually achieved something that only 1% of the world population manages to accumulate. The real wealth, the real A-list celebrity relationships, and a phenomenal career success. Parenthetical. As a journalist, I did a research. I don't think this person is a journalist. As a journalist, I did a research. And I can tell you the girl behind the Celebrity Witch Club is someone we all know, but her lawyers drafted a draconian contract that they shared with the media, and it says we are not allowed to reveal the identity behind Celebrity Witch. So does Celebrity Witch not tell you? Do they not show themselves? Is that the case?
Apparently not. I don't know. I don't have TikTok, so I couldn't tell you.
Celebrity Witch. I
didn't do my research.
You got to do a research on this, Gonzo. Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to go do a research.
Are you going to pump it in the Goog?
No, I'm going to pump it in the Insta, the IG.
Oh.
Hold on. You could probably Goog and just ask who it is. Some of these probably. Sounds so scammy.
Yeah, the whole thing sounds scammy.
I mean, whenever it's like, you will get real wealth, the 1% wealth, and make celebrity friends from Celebrity Witch.
Yeah. Not finding
there
anything.
Are so many celebrity witches.
This is a big thing.
So many people are trying to... Here we go. Celebrity Witch official. Okay, so @Celebrity Witch is the one that was quoted in this article. @Celebrity_Witch. I went to that exact thing. There are 3 followers.
Yeah, I was gonna say I found a Celebrity Witch Facebook page with 33 likes.
Yeah, I think we've been fooled, Gons.
We or this woman?
Well, this woman, but also us for paying attention to this woman. Jennifer.
She got clicks.
Jennifer Ross. I need to find Jennifer Ross's Instagram. Anyways, we've talked about Celebrity Witch. No, we've talked about witchcraft. WitchTok. Yes, TikTok. Witchcraft. Dang it. That's so hard to say. WitchTok. We've talked about this before. I think it was last year, and it was during the lockdowns. This, for some reason, had some crazy explosion in popularity, mostly because people were grasping for some sort of control over their lives.
Yeah.
And they're stuck on social media. And that's exactly what this is. And I don't need to necessarily remind everybody, witchcraft is always about exerting one's own will over other people or the world. And sort of taking cosmic power for your own self. And this became very popular. And there was, the last article we read about WitchTok, I think actually we specifically were looking at the Instagram version of it. These witchcraft social media accounts are getting humongous followings and was sort of causing a whole social revolution of witchcraft, of becoming a mainstream, spiritual practice system.
The jingle has really messed up your words.
I know. I think that's what it is. The what is it? She be practicing witchcraft has spoiled my ability to speak about it. But yeah. Anyways, what do you think? Have you seen this around?
Demonic power.
That's about it. That's about all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we did notice that it was a very popular or just trending in the last year, especially during all the lockdowns. People had nothing to do but scour their social media and put together witches brews and try to put spells on people to like them and stuff. So
and I think it goes back to this thing where everybody's stuck inside, maybe they're working from home, they got their Zoom, meetings they're going to, but more or less there's this urge to LARP. And for those who don't know, LARP stands for live action role play, which is basically just adults pretending. And not to say that there aren't like serious people taking it seriously, but it seems as though it was more of a revolution of people being like, oh, yeah, witch stuff is cool now. Now I'm a witch.
I'm a witch. You're a witch.
Everybody's a witch. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got a couple more stories. Try to get through these fairly quickly here. We're getting long in the touche.
I know. Even when we try to do a short show, it just goes and goes. Another 3 hour, baby.
I know. We have to cut down a couple of the stories next time and try to keep
another 3 hour, baby.
3.
Okay. Getting kooky now.
Yeah, it is getting kooky.
Let's check in with CERN. Speaking of witches.
This is CBS.NL. A digital twin of society illuminates its complexity. The statistical studies by Statistics Netherlands, CBS, mirror Dutch society. But what causes the emerging trends identified in these studies, such as the patterns of the economic cycle of social mobility? To help answer this question, Professor Frank P. Pijpers of Statistics Netherlands will simulate a digital twin for every resident of the Netherlands.
Oh boy.
This computer simulation with 17.5 million people is to mimic the complex system of Dutch society and help to understand it better. The collaboration agreement signed between Statistics Netherlands and CERN, the largest particle physics laboratory in the world, foresees the usage of biodynamo technology co-developed at CERN to construct a digital twin of the Netherlands. Biodynamo is a software platform that can be used to virtually simulate the behavior of different particles in a system where they all influence each other. So they're reducing us to just particles in a system, Basil.
Oh, that's us.
To understand the concept of a digital twin better, let us take an example of a flock of starlings, known for forming impressive flight patterns against the evening sky. These patterns arise while an individual starling in that swarm knows nothing about it. It makes its own choice and only pays attention to the neighboring peers. People also make their own choices. They take more things into account than starlings do, yet the social trends that emerge as a consequence are not self-evident. For example, different groups of people may live side by side in the same city, but rarely or never meet or speak to each other without making that conscious choice. As a result, their opinions and habits may also diverge further and further from each other. By applying modern simulation techniques, such as agent-based modeling, to the data from their system of social statistical files, SSB Statistics Netherlands can visualize the collective behavior of groups in Dutch society. One example would be the segregation of the population into groups with diverging lifestyles based on the behavior of the approximately 17.5 million individual inhabitants. The aim is to investigate, among other things, which mechanisms are responsible for maintaining or increasing inequality between population groups and across generations in areas such as education, economic, and social opportunities. The insight provided by the computer simulations of the digital twin of the Netherlands are important for planning bureaus and ministries. Based on these insights, they can, for example, develop more effective policies to combat inequality in line with the United Nations Sustainable Goals or Sustainability Goals, the UN 2030 agenda. For Statistics Netherlands, it is invaluable to offer a good model that has been tested for validity and applicability. With its help, planning agencies can better assess how policy choices affect the population and how people adjust their behavior based on the policy. This also makes unintended consequences of policy more visible. So there you go. This is very much a story about, well, for one, it's a hive mind. And the other part of this is, being watched. Where's my being watched jingle? Did I get rid of it? I thought I had it. No, where did it go? I cannot find it.
Oh, no.
It's not where it normally is. Well, anyway, have you ever had the feeling that you're being watched? Because this is really going to take all that data in to come up with the digital twin of the Netherlands society.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This is the culmination of the big data and surveillance gathering. And this is sort of something that's been, it floats in the background to the privacy concerns and the online data gathering and stuff like that. Of course, there are immediate concerns of what that could be done to, or what could be done with that info regarding your own well-being and lifestyle. But, this is a big picture thing. We actually did a Canary Cry radio episode on this years ago.
Yep.
The global simulation. And this has been a goal for a long time. And this is one of the most comprehensive practices of this, I think. And this goes back to the AI governance as well. And having, this is everything. This is like the ultimate beast culmination of every little piece of the beast system that we examine. This is exactly it. And we talked about it. Oh my gosh, this episode must have been. Oh, do you?
August 31st, the 31st, 2012, episode 25 of Canary Cry Radio, the Sentient World Simulation. And it's the artwork that looks like the coronavirus popping up all over the world. You had
that's interesting.
The world map and all the little, the tags.
Yeah,
looks very much like the situation we're in now. But
yeah, that's nuts. So there you go. I don't even know. I would need to go back and listen to see how close we were. But to have CERN involved is an extra little bonus.
Yeah.
On top of everything else, CERN, it kind of goes back and forth. Are they just kind of playing around with particles? Are they opening interdimensional things, or are they building the global world simulation that inevitably ends up in artificial intelligence governance? And it's no surprise that the Netherlands is kind of the first target. They were, again, as we reported, the country that had the highest approval rating for an artificial intelligence governor. So yeah, this is incredible. It's just it's again a spooky moment where crazy stuff we talk about is becoming a reality.
Yep.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Well, cool. Moving on. Let's head on over to treehugger.com.
Look at the tag of this website, though.
Sustainability for all.
Yeah, it's the buzzword.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Tree hugger, sustainability for all.
Let me just say, if you're starting a business, just use the word sustainability and you'll have all the environmental people going, oh.
Yeah. And it makes nothing but sense that the headline is cyborg mussels could serve as environmental warning systems. We know that researchers can use mussel shells to measure historical levels of fracking pollution, and they've also been known to test positive for opioids. Fun. Now, a team out of the North Carolina State University is working on a different idea, hacking mussels with sensors so that they can function as a real-time warning system for pollution in the water. Are these mussels consenting to their cyborgism?
I don't think so.
There's something wrong here, tree hugger.
This is an invasion of a species.
Yeah, can the mussels sign the user license agreement for their new Android implants? Didn't think so.
They're being used for the gain of humans, and this is racism.
Yes, this is oppression. They're oppressing these shellfish.
Speciesism.
Free the shellfish. We should become shellfish activists and make this our main cause. At its simplest, the idea is based on how mussels eat. Mussels are filter feeders, and they feed asynchronously, meaning there's no apparent coordination between mussels to either eat or not eat at the exact same time. What does that mean? I have no idea. Nobody knows. All that changes, however, when there's something noxious in the water. The mussels will clam up, so to speak, all at once in order... Nice one. All at once in order to protect themselves from potential contamination. By attaching inertial measurement units to each half of a mussel's shell, the sensors are able to detect if a mussel is open or closed and how widely it is. In order to keep costs down and ensure scalability, the researchers are using commercially available IMUs similar to those found in cell phones, but just applying them in new ways. Once the sensor is in the formation, it then sends back to a centralized data acquisition system that's mounted to a stake nearby and powered by solar panels. Why not
steak?
Wave?
They got cows into this too?
Alper Bolskert, co-author and professor of electrical and computer engineering, describes the concept as being not unlike a Fitbit for bivalves. Quote, our aim is to establish an internet of mussels and monitor their individual and collective behavior. It's the shellfish hive mind, Gons.
No.
This will ultimately enable us to use them as environmental sensors or sentinels.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sounds
Think of it as, here we go. There's a quote further on down by Jay Levine. Think of it as a canary in the coal mine, except we can detect the presence of toxins without having to wait for the mussels to die. Oh, better than a canary in a coal mine, because the canary doesn't die. Yeah, it goes on and on and on, but there you go, Gons. Free the mussels. We are enslaving Earth's shellfish for our own personal gain.
MLM, bro. MLM.
Multi-level marketing.
No. Mussels lives matter.
This is
depending
funny.
on the kind, they could be tasty, although I don't know if you're supposed to eat shellfish.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's easier ways to sense if there's something bad in the water than surgically implanting sensors in thousands of shellfish.
Yeah, this is an invasion.
Yeah.
It's a human invasion.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. This is wrong and it's sick, and shellfish lives matter.
If you connect it to the last story, you know how the shellfish are the mussels have no clue that they're, well, maybe they do, but like they don't have a choice, right? That they're getting infiltrated by these wires and all this stuff to serve a purpose that they are not really made for.
They are enslaved.
Or at least be taken advantage of to serve a purpose that they are unaware of.
Oh, they're being taken dominion over.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing taking place with humans if you think about the digital realm and what's happening on the other side.
Yeah,
it's all
starts
a big
here,
analogy.
folks. They start with forcing cyborg implants on shellfish, and they're coming for you next.
Yep. All right, one more story before we call it an episode, another long one.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
I did find the jingle, and this is, again, an LA Times article under technology. This is what happens when ICE asks Google for your user information.
Oh, this is great. ICE is in the immigration thing. What is ICE?
What was
immigration?
I know it's the International Criminal. What was it? Okay, now I got to look it up real quick. Hold on.
Gosh. Which ICE are they talking about?
They'll probably say it in the article here.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Immigrant Customs Enforcement. There you go. Thank you. You're scrolling through your Gmail inbox and see an email with a strange subject line, a string of numbers followed by notification from Google.
Oh boy.
It may seem like a phishing scam or an update to Gmail's terms of service, but it could be the only chance you'll have to stop Google from sharing your personal information with authorities.
Oh.
Tech companies, which have treasure troves of personal information, have become natural targets for law enforcement and government requests. The industry's biggest names, such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, receive data requests from subpoenas to national security letters to assist in, among other efforts, criminal and non-criminal investigations, as well as lawsuits. And an email like this one is a rare chance for users to discover when government agencies are seeking their data. In Google's case, the company typically lets users know which agency is seeking their information. In one email the Times reviewed, Google notified the recipient that the company received a request from the Department of Homeland Security to turn over information related to their Google account. The recipient shared the email on the condition of anonymity due to concerns about immigration enforcement. The account may be attached to Gmail, YouTube, Google Photos, Google Pay, Google Calendar, and other services and apps. The email, sent from Google's legal investigations support team, notified the recipient that Google may hand over personal information to DHS unless it receives within 7 days a copy of a court-stamped motion to squash the request. That's a high bar to clear in a short amount of time, said Paromith Shah, co-founder and executive director of immigration rights law firm Just Futures. Quote, "What Google expects you to do is to quash the subpoena, and that would require you to go to federal court," Shah said. Quote, "I'd like to know how many people are going to have the resources and the understanding that they have only 7 days to hire an attorney to squash an ICE subpoena in federal court." The email from Google did not include a copy of the legal request. Upon requesting it, the recipient learned it was an administrative subpoena from the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency. ICE was looking for the names, email addresses, phone numbers, IP addresses, street addresses, length of service such as start date, and means of sources of payment linked in any way to the Google account. Such requests are not uncommon for Google. From January 2020 to June 2020, Google received nearly 40,000 requests for user information from law enforcement agencies. More than 15,500 were subpoenas, according to an annual transparency report. Of the subpoenas, Google provided some data in 83% of the cases. For that same period, Facebook received more than 60,000 requests, producing some data in 88% of cases. Twitter received a little more than 3,000 requests and said it had a 59% compliance rate. Although companies may feel limited in their ability to fight off warrant and court-ordered subpoenas, Shaw and immigration advocates argue the tech industry has much more leeway to withhold user information in response to legal requests that did not receive judicial authorization. In a statement, Google spokesperson Alex Krasov said the company, quote, vigorously protects users' privacy, quote, while supporting the important work of law enforcement. Quote, we have a well-established process for managing requests from law enforcement for data about our users. When we receive a request, we notify users that their information has been requested, push back an overly broad request to protect users' privacy, and provide transparency around such requests in our transparency report. The statement read. You know, that it's interesting how this is revealing how much power a company like Google has. You know, law enforcement has to come to Google and Google has to be an arbiter.
Yeah.
You know, like they have to,
knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, but they get to kind of decide like how important your privacy is. I think we kind of get the point here. I'm getting tired. Do we need to read any more of this?
Well, that's the thing. When we mentioned the 3-hour shows, everybody's like, oh, we love the 3-hour shows. It's not that. It's just we run out of gas. It takes a lot of energy to do this.
We're going to start staring off into space for a few seconds and then trail off into our thoughts.
Turn into Joe Biden.
Well, anyway, it's
you know, the thing, the guy. All right.
No, because I know that.
Sorry, I'm trying to get that part where you.
This is a. But I'm ready to.
Such a long pause.
I thought it was over. I didn't know it was still playing. That's funny. All right. Well, I think while we still have the focus, this cat is really invading my space.
I heard the cat earlier, so yeah.
I think the cat is telling me the show's over. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming in and listening to this episode. I want to mention right off the bat, we'll be circling back. Oh, next week's schedule is going to be kind of funky, huh?
Yeah, I think Monday and Friday next week we'll have an earlier show that's a little shorter, and then Friday or Wednesday might be a still shorter show, but we'll see. But yeah,
it's kind of funky, folks. So stay tuned. We'll be putting out stuff on the social media if you want to stay posted. Please do that. Who knows? Because it might even get more complicated than it already is. But either way, keep an eye out on Monday. That is March 29th. We'll be circling back around.
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back.
That's right. And I want to thank all of our producers for this episode 315 of Canary Cry News Talk. That's producers Matt L., Malik, Saul, Anonymous, Brian D., Gail M., Shield Labs, Michelle E., and of course, a big old thank you to Jade Bouncerson and co. for the timestamps, and of course, all of our artists and musicians. Very cool. Thank you very much for producing the show. I did notice, Gons, that it's been now it is the end of the month. There's always the end of the month producership lull. But I do got to give some credit to the producers over the past couple of weeks. It's been a very consistent group. Oh my gosh. And Kat is stepping on the keyboard. I have completely lost control of the situation. But it's been a very consistent group, it feels like. So thank you to all of our consistent producers. And I would say, as we move, we understand that, financial support is never an easy thing to get together, especially if you don't have to. But just to be reminded that the value for value system is the only way that we can continue doing this work with the shreds of integrity that we are still grasping onto. So I would like to invite, if you have not produced a show yet, but you continue to enjoy the show, remember, it's just all about whatever value you get out of it. Put that value in whatever amount that is meaningful to you. And that's the big thing. So remember, we'll need some producers for Monday's show on the 29th, and you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT or canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Look it up.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. Look it up. Okay, let's see here. But here's the thing. If financially supporting the show is not in the cards for you, there's plenty of ways to support the show with your time, your talent. Let's see here. Hey, if you're a creative person and you can, maybe you write music, you can create songs for the show. We would love to play them on the Canary Cry mixtape after the show. Jingles. We can always take more jingles. Just keep an eye out, keep an ear out for something that needs a jingle. Sometimes we request, but sometimes inspiration just strikes. And of course, art. If you're a visual artist of any kind, go ahead and create something for the show. Again, we've got plenty of material to give you inspiration on what your next creation could be. Send all of that to canarycryradio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or canarycryradio@protonmail if you're one of those hacker people. Let's see, but not only that, you can go ahead and tell people about the show. Share it on your social media. Send it out to your group text. Maybe email your professor if you're in university. Or, more than anything, you got friends and family who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And they would probably be just delighted to learn about the show. And, we're delighted to have them here. We call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Look it up.
That's right. Look it up, folks. Remember, go ahead and send an email to producer Ciara at ciaralauren93@gmail.com to learn about more meetups, and maybe she'll have some tips on how you can put your own meetup going. Put your own meetup going. These are real American words. All right, Gons, any last words?
Stop filibustering. Have a great weekend.
I will always filibuster. All right, folks. One last time, we'll be circling back around on Monday, the 29th.
Circle back. Circle back.
Okay, everybody.
It's so messy.
I know. We're doing it. This is what happens when we do shows that are 3 hours more than longer. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Demonic power! You can't handle the truth! Phew, hallelujah!
Science is truth.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Liar!
They are scum.
Aliens. Called it. Aliens. Called it. Aliens. Called it.
Everybody loves waffles. Everybody loves waffles. Everybody loves waffles.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Bye, go